And powerful urban Native community. It's one of the largest communities in the United States, ninth largest urban Native American population. So just want to acknowledge that that's where we are. We are on indigenous land. And that's a part of this story, right? Is looking at land theft, looking at colonialism, looking at imperialism, and seeing what we can do to start making that right. So Pop Mob is here today. You are all joining us. You are what's making this powerful. Thank you for being here. Pop Mob came together in response to the dramatic increase in violence witnessed in Portland on June 30th during Patriot Prayer's most recent alt-right rally. We're just individuals and organizers that come from all different walks of life. We're parents, we're teachers, we're students, we're artists and union members and healthcare providers, we're receptionists, food service workers, and more. We care about communities under attack in this current climate, because there are communities. We're a part of some of those communities. We also stand in solidarity as best we can with some of those communities, and we want to hear what that solidarity looks like from those communities. We want a world free from white supremacy, free from racism and xenophobia. Yes, we want a world free from criminalized migration. Migration is a human right, and it's a human tradition. We want a world free of homophobia, transphobia, and free from sexism. We want it now. We want a world free from ability discrimination, and we want an accessible world where we all can participate. And we want a world free from poverty and lack of access to food, healthcare, housing, and education. We don't want an economic system that makes us sick and makes us starve. And we think that believing in these things is what makes you an anti-fascist. And that's why we all believe that we are all anti-fascists. And there's no shame in that, right? How many people's families fought against fascism? Right? So many hands here, so many hands. There's so many beautiful legacies. I saw a beautiful banner this week that said Grandpa was Antifa, right? There's beauty in that, there's family stories in that, and there's a lot of other people that fought that fight and showed up in different ways, even if they didn't serve. So Pop Mob formed this coalition around a single unifying goal: to inspire the people of Oregon to show up and resist the alt-right. We know that we far outnumber those who support them, and that we are more powerful when we come together as a community. And you all are showing that right now. We don't need to import supporters from all over the country. We have a strong and resilient community right here, and we can show up and defend our city against their hate. So who's here with us today? All of you are here today. You're making it happen. Thank you. We have marshals who are here today. There's some marshals. They are in bright colored vests, and they are here to kind of help human traffic and help things move along safely. So they're not going to try to control what you do. They're just going to say, hey, this is going to be a safer way to move today. It's just supporting human traffic and a flow of that in a way that is going to try to be safer. There is a safety team here today. So the safety team members are wearing green masks. You might have seen some of them around. And they are here to protect us, and we want to thank them for being ready to keep us safe and showing up with their bodies to do that work today. Thank you, safety team. So why are they here? They're here to keep us safe and help address any disruption and engage in de-escalation. De-escalation is going to be their first approach with all of that. So we appreciate and trust them. You might ask, if you haven't seen it before, why they are wearing masks. And they're wearing masks for their protection, right? They're here for our protection, and they're wearing those masks for their protection, so they don't get doxxed, they don't get harassed by the alt-right, and they don't get focused on in some of this online and internet harassment that's happening to folks who are standing up to protect communities. So we thank them. Also out in the mix today, you will probably see medics that have a red cross taped to their arm. These are folks that are trained to do street medic work and help you if there is a health concern. Thank you, medics. We love our medics. We love you so much. And I'm just gonna interrupt myself here. Folks, you can keep coming into the plaza. There's a lot of room, so please keep joining us. We don't want folks to feel like they have to get forced out onto the sidewalk. Ooh, I'm gonna make another announcement about who's here because I just saw some green hats. Anybody know the green hats? That's the National Lawyers Guild Legal Observers, and they are here to observe and document any type of police misconduct, police harassment. And so if you want to get information about knowing your rights, what your civil rights are, or if you have questions about the jail support hotline, which is there to support folks who may get arrested, and that's at all times, that's not just today, this is just what the NLG Legal Observers do. They have information about the jail support hotline and knowing your rights. So we thank the National Lawyers Guild. These are all volunteer folks and they come out and show up all the time. Thank you, NLG. There may also be other legal observers. I know the ACLU wears blue vests. I haven't seen any of those folks yet, but we thank everybody who's out here. Let's see. So we have a powerful, positive lineup of incredible voices and speakers representing our community today. And we're going to hear from our first one in just a moment. We've got folks from the Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition. Yes. Portland Interfaith Clergy Resistance. We're going to be really lucky to hear from educator and cultural activist and MC Mike Crenshaw. We've got folks representing Gabriella, Portland, and International League of People's Struggle. Yes! ILPS, I see your banner here. And then we're going to have some words from folks representing Jobs with Justice. And then I'm going to, yes! Jay with Jay. And then I'm going to close us out and we'll talk about some more things. So I'm going to do a quick read through of our endorsers of this rally. This endorsed rally lasts from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And that is the term for the endorsements of this rally. I'm going to read our endorsers off here. I just have to flip a page. All right, so this is a pop mob organized rally, and this has been endorsed by Occupy ICE Portland. Bleeding Hearts Kettlebell Jam, keeping it tough, Bleeding Hearts. Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition. Jobs with Justice. DSA Portland, who brought us in with an amazing, powerful group of people, chanting and bringing it in. Thank you so much, DSA Portland. This has also been endorsed by KBOO Community Radio, the Western States Center, Climate Jobs Portland, Black Rose, Rosa Negra. Thank you, Black Rose. Congregation Shir Tikva, Rabbi Ariel Stone, Portland Interfaith Clergy Resistance, and the General Defense Committee Local 1 of the Industrial Workers of the World. Thank you, IWW. Yes. Excellent. And I just want to say again, for folks who are joining us, my name is Sarah. I'm your MC today. We're here for the rally from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And we had a wonderful volunteer, Jet, join us today, who is doing ASL interpretation. So we want to thank them so much for this work and showing up. Thank you so much, Jet. Great. Oh, and I did want to say here, there may be endorsements that I have missed. We've had a lot of endorsements coming in the past 24 hours, so my apologies if I missed that endorsement. And we have had some folks who have come up to ask to speak. Unfortunately, the speaking is closed for the day. But we did have a visit from the NAACP of Portland, and so I want to honor that and give so much respect and thanks to Pastor E.D. Mondane, who is the president of the NAACP of Portland. Can you shout, like maybe wave a hand? Are you over here? Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate the legacy of the struggle that the NAACP has played in the United States for fighting all different kinds of fascism. So thank you so much for being here today. I'm sorry that we are not being able to coordinate you on the mic, but Portland chapter, NAACP, and Pastor E.D. Mondane, we thank you. We see that solidarity. Thank you for being here. Great, so we're going to have our first speaker, who is with the Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition, Maxine Fuchsen, who is representing the Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition, PIRC, Network Against Racism and Islamophobia. So Maxine, if I can have you join me up here.
Is this good? Yeah. Hey, okay, great. Well, greetings everyone, and I want to start by saying thank you to Pop Mob and all the other groups that have organized for today, and for all of you for coming out today. This is really important. And it's important because this is just one of the ways we're called to stand for human rights and dignity, and to absolutely not stand idly by as horrible, mean, racist, xenophobic, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, I said cloud, but no, storm has come over us. We're all here together today. So I'm speaking on behalf of the Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition, or PIRC. Many of your groups here are part of our coalition. The group I'm most affiliated with is the Network Against Racism and Islamophobia. And I want to connect today, this moment, with longer-term issues that are right here in front of us in Oregon and all over the nation, I dare say the world. PIRC, as a coalition of immigrant-led groups and allies in solidarity with immigrants, is active on lots of fronts right now, as this assault is coming to us on lots of fronts. And I guess what I wanted to do today is try to step out of maybe some facts and figures and into the shoes of what we're really seeing today among immigrant communities, that are people who are our friends, our families, our neighbors. We see it in the past. We see it with all the days that the Patriot Prayer and their associated hate groups come. And that's just one manifestation of this nativism belief that this is a nation of white, Christian, European, and it's not a nation of all of ours. And we absolutely say no to that. So I want to make it kind of personal from stories that I hear working on the hotline with PIRC, hearing from immigrant families every single day what it means to be separated, to be afraid to take your family, your children to medical appointments, to drop your children off at school because you're not sure you're going to be able to pick them up. These are families that are being separated not just at the border, as we so horribly have been hearing, but right here in our community. And it's all connected. It's all connected. We in Oregon now, this fall, are about to, we've just begun the fight to defeat Measure 105. Are you all familiar with this hateful 105? How many people know about the Oregonians for Immigration Reform, or OFFER? So OFFER, with the biggest misnomer of name you could imagine, is a bona fide hate group. Read on the Southern Poverty Law Center's site. They've investigated this group for years and years and years. They are associated with people like Patriot Prayer and Joey Gibson and Sheriff Arpaio in Arizona, who was the famous "Show Me Your Papers." So Measure 5 is a legislative assault that we all need to fight. And it goes beyond today, and I hope every single person will be active in the fight to defeat Measure 105. What Measure 105 wants to do, put on the ballot by OFFER, this hate group, is to repeal our state sanctuary law. And that's an important law. It's a law that needs to be strengthened and certainly not defeated. It needs to be made more real and not defeated. But for whatever hope we have to keep it, because that's what keeps our local law enforcement separate from doing the work of ICE and of the Homeland Security and of national immigration people. Yeah. That keeps our local resources, our state resources, from funding prisons such as at Norcor and the Dalles, where they're holding immigrant detainees. That's our basis to fight that and to keep our communities safe for all of us. So I urge you to please get involved in combating Measure 105. That goes beyond today. And for information on that, you can go to Oregon Unite, orunite.org, which is the coalition of groups that's come together to fight Measure 105. So just to end, I wanted you to, if you want to, close your eyes. If you don't want to today, that's okay. Keep them open most of the day. But if you want to for right now, I want to take a minute to contrast two things. One is to think about what is it like right now to be in a country with this wave of xenophobic, hate-filled rhetoric right down from the top. What does it mean to be a Muslim woman covered and afraid to walk outside of your job, to go to your car? That when you go to put your computer in the trunk of your car after work, you're stopped by the police and accused of breaking into your own car. What does it mean for children, as we've seen over the years, to come home from school and not have their parents there because their parents were deported? What does it mean yesterday? We heard it at a PERC meeting yesterday that there were ICE patrolling the Multnomah County Courthouse. So people who needed to go for their legal issues to the courthouse came out and found ICE officials. What does it mean to know that Department of Homeland Security is contracting with local hotels to put up their officials in our city residences and resources? Every single day, our community is being assaulted by this hateful storm. And then just in closing, what I was hoping you might do is just silently to yourself, I think here we are today and we are opposing the hate. But in this movement moment, what do we embrace? What is it that we want for the community, as Dr. King said, the beloved community? What do we want for all of us as a way for everyone to know that they have dignity and inclusion and love and support? And let's also hold that in our hearts today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Maxine, thank you so much. Thank you so much to the Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition. How can folks learn more about what PIRC does and how can they get involved?
Great, thank you. Forgot to say that, didn't I? So PERC has a Facebook page, Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition. Like us on Facebook, please. And that's a great way. There's information on the Facebook page for how you might get involved.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Maxine, representing Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition. So I wanna encourage and welcome everybody who's here in the front to move forward. Come closer to us. Let's get into the solidarity together because there's other folks that are coming in, and I want to make sure we can have enough room for everybody and have everybody be able to hear what is happening. So thank you so much, Maxine. I am going to now read a statement from Rabbi Ariel Stone, who can't be here today because it's the Sabbath, but wanted to send the very, very strong support. And so we have that statement from Rabbi Stone. So these are the words from Rabbi Ariel Stone. Friends, comrades all, I greet you with appreciation and with love. I am unable to be with you this day, for on the seventh day, we Jews believe we are commanded to cease from the activities of a week and to offer that day up to God as a gift of thanks for the gift of life. But know that I am with you with all my heart and spirit on this day. Once again, those of us who are able and those of us who care are called forth to stand up and proclaim that hatred, bigotry, and alt-right violence are unacceptable on the streets of Portland. Once again, we must rise up to declare that we will not allow bigotry to be bussed in. We will not be silent when hatred is imported to our streets. We will not stand idly by the blood of our neighbor when violence we have not invited comes to our neighborhood.
Yes. That's right.
It is difficult to respond to hatred without hating. It is easy to answer violence with equal violence. On this day of prayer for me, my prayer for you, my beloved comrades, is that you are able to stand against hatred without giving way to it. May you be safe in the face of uninvited violence. May your courage be picked up by the media, and may your stance of protection for Portland be respected by those who do not stand with you. May Portland become the sanctuary city we should be, and may our actions this day bring us closer to a time of peace for all Portland and for all of the United States. And that is Rabbi Ariel Stone, Portland Interfaith Clergy Resistance. So I just want to thank Portland Interfaith Clergy Resistance and Rabbi Ariel Stone for these strong words. My name is Sarah. I'm the MC today. Those were not my words. That is a statement from Rabbi Ariel Stone, Portland Interfaith Clergy Resistance, and a beautiful statement. I was honored to read that. So next up, we're going to bring up oh yes, actually, while we do that, we're going to bring up our next speaker. We're going to get staged a little bit, and then I'm going to ask people to pass the hat. So we had to rent a PA today. We made posters. We did a lot of things. We spent some money. And so we are going to ask folks, if you have $1, if you have $2, can you pass the hat and make a donation? All of that money is going to go to supporting the rally today and to other work that medics and crews of people did to help bring this all together. So if you got $1, there's a really cute straw hat that's going around. Toss about $1 in the hat. Thank you so much.
And really quickly, we're hearing from speakers here. I just want to set the scene. We're here at City Hall in Portland. This is where counter-protesters have started setting up. They started setting up here at about 10:30, counter-protesting a protest that's happening down at the waterfront led by Joey Gibson. He is the leader of Portland, or Patriot Prayer, rather. So right now we're just hearing from speakers as people prepare to then march down to the waterfront a little bit later, so I'll just toss it back.
Introduce our next speaker to you. Portland is very lucky, and we need to understand the gift we have with this community member. We have an MC, educator, cultural activist, Mike Crenshaw, who's going to join us today. So much long-time solid work in Portland. Thank you for being with us today, Mike.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you all for being out here. Say popular. Popular! Mobilization! Mobilization! Say popular! Popular! Mobilization! Mobilization! So we got to fight on so many levels, and I'm happy to be out here today. I'm happy to see all the people out here. How many people here understand that fighting is a metaphor for a diversity of knowledge and information that we have to incorporate tactically? Now, we understand that there are intersections and connections between all the systems of oppression at work. So we understand that somebody can think that they're just being proud to be American, that they're just proud of the gender they were assigned at birth, that they're just proud of the complexion of the skin, and that they have a constitutional right to just be proud and let everybody know about it. We get that, right? But we also understand that there are intersections between the root causes of white supremacy, of patriarchy, of oppressive heteronormative boxes, of people who feel so impotent in their entitlement that they have to rely on violence to express themselves. So that said, I'm happy to see people in the street, because it's people in the street that are willing to sacrifice, that are willing to be vulnerable, that are willing to be courageous enough to engage and let these motherfuckers know we are not safe. However, I'm also aware of the fact that we need diversity and strategy and tactics in our self-awareness as we commit. I'm never going to publicly alienate, isolate, or disrespect people willing to engage. But you know what else? Because I've been in this fight for a really long time, y'all. And because the skin I was born in, and I know my vulnerability, and I'm very clear about my willingness to engage, I am not, I'm just speaking for myself, interested in meeting the enemy on their terms. Think long range. Think proactive. If a motherfucker tell me I got a loaded weapon and I want you to meet me at 4 o'clock, I'm gonna be like, keep it pushing, punk. But I'm gonna be training myself. I'm gonna be training every day so that I can defend my community. And for my people that are out here engaging them, that is a form of training. You know, we got a joke, this Jeet Kune Do joke. You don't learn how to swim outside of the water. You don't go to the dry land school of swimming. You learn how to swim by getting in the water. So for the people that are out there engaging, they are learning more and more. Okay? So let's think about unity, let's think about solidarity, and let's think about standing with our people. And for those of us who aren't interested in meeting the enemy on their terms at 4 o'clock with a loaded weapon, the narrative is key. That's what popular mobilization will utilize when we go into the classrooms, when we have discussions with our family, when we're not necessarily at a demonstration, but we're interrupting the unconsciousness of reactive thinking that is reinforced by the channels of information with our critical analysis. You feel me? So, I would like to do a song to lift the spirits, and I think you might be familiar with what I'm talking about. Make some noise for yourselves, people! Yeah. I've been in gangs and done hardcore drugs. There ain't nothing as dangerous as being in love. My love for freedom transcends addiction. It completely consumes my whole existence and affliction. Deeper than the people's religion, and in the face of death, it has kept me living, and it places me in certain positions where I'm exposed and feel only friction. And my heroes that live do so from prisons, while I'm in the streets and trenches leading resistance. Despite all fear, I'ma be persistent, because it's clear that what I need to witness is a culmination of our dreams and visions, motivated by the co-creation of something different where I need to met. And we're not at war, and we're not in debt, or hungry or poor. I want to be efficient and self-sufficient, so I'ma ask the elders with a wealth of wisdom. They said you can't avoid it, try to enjoy it. The contradictions, they will destroy us, like this profit-driven unemployment. You know the job is millions, they won't be voiceless. Fools take advantage and try to rape the planet and take for granted all the waste and damages that privatize. All the waves in the ocean due to rising tides. Civilization is broken out of crisis lines. In the ways we have chosen when the prices rise and the wages are frozen. Currently, it's all a state of emergency. Hurry, we urgently need more currency. I spit succinctly for a sick society. The script of thinking of a deeper riot act. All over the world. People in the streets. People just like you. People just like you. People just like who?
People just like me.
People just like me.
Just like me.
You know what it is? Class war. That's all we class for. The police task forces in the streets with masks on. They will take the mask off or drop the shotgun or hesitate to pepper spray your kids in the hot sun. Racist inequity provides for your basic necessities. Denied your shelter, electricity, and human rights. Despite color or ethnicity, that's what we fight for. I dangle my feet over the edge of the apocalypse. I'm thinking and taking a leap, whatever the consequence. Nothing to lose. But blood and consequence, the path that I choose is proof that I exist. Critical mass, physical confidence to build the people up and back on every continent. Study the past, subvert the dominant, deconstruct, analyze, reorganize the metropolis. All over the world, all over the world. People in the streets.
People just like you.
People just like you.
People just like me.
People just like me.
They wanna be free.
We want to be free. This is the part where you're going to do it with me. We're all going to do it together. Every city, every hood, every city, every hood, every block, everywhere. Every city, every hood, everywhere. Every city, every hood, every block. 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 Everywhere. Every city, every hood, every block. Every city, every hood, every block. Every city, every hood, every block. All over the world.
People in the street.
People in the street.
People just like you.
People just like you.
People just like me.
People just like you. People just like me. All over the world. This is happening everywhere, y'all.
People in the street.
Let's move to the right. But you know what?
People just like
There's gonna be more of us than there is of them. One more time. Say popular mobilization. Thank you. Peace.
Mike Crenshaw, wait, hang up for a second here. Hang with me for 1 minute. Wow, everybody, thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. How can people plug into what you're doing, catch up with your work, connect?
I'm at Mike Crenshaw, M-I-C Crenshaw. Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, MikeCrenshaw.com. You'll see me out here, y'all. Thank you very much. Peace.
Yes, thank you so much, Mike. Everybody do yourself a favor and get Mike's music and listen to it. It is solid, it's amazing. So I'm going to once again say my name is Sarah. I'm the MC here today for Pop Mob. Thank you all for being here. This is beautiful and powerful, and I am so proud of everybody who is showing up in this way and everybody out there who is showing up in another way. If you can't be here today, we know that you are showing up and in this fight with us, and we thank you too. There are so many ways to get involved. There are so many ways to plug in. There is a place for you, there's a place for your friend, there's a place for your family, there's a place for people who haven't even thought about what this means yet. And we want them to join us in this. So this is the rally. It is lasting maybe a little until after 11:30, but I will let you know when the rally time ends and this endorsed rally comes to a close, because we got a few more speakers. We're not there yet. I am going to ask to come up here a representative from Gabriella Portland, an International League of People's Struggle, Angelica Lim. Thank you.
Warm militant greetings, comrades, community, Portland. What a beautiful day it is to fight against fascism. What a beautiful day it is to rise against imperialism. What a beautiful day it is to know that we are here, Portland, strong and continuing to organize, not just today, but every day, after day, until we fight back for the real causes of our oppression. I organized with the International League of People's Struggle.
I organized with Gabriella Portland. We are anti-imperialist organizations here today, encouraging every single one of you to get organized. Use your skills and get organized. We have a world to win. I am also a queer Filipina mother, but first and foremost, I am a militant. I am an anti-imperialist, an anti-fascist, and an internationalist. An internationalist that believes that we have a lot to contribute. Everything that is happening in the United States is a mirror to what is happening in the Philippines, in Palestine, in Mexico. We have an impact. We must internalize that we must change the conditions, not only in the United States, but all over the world. The League would like to read a statement of solidarity. Today we offer our complete and unwavering solidarity with workers, immigrants, migrant justice groups, and human rights activists to say loudly and clearly no to fascist organizing taking place in Portland, Oregon. The rise of white nationalists and fascist organizing in the Pacific Northwest and throughout the United States mirrors the repression faced by activists worldwide. Those who organize their communities against white supremacist groups face the same militarized police tactics as those who demonstrate for labor rights, indigenous sovereignty, LGBTQ liberation, and environmental justice all over the globe. As the contradictions of imperialism intensify, we see a similar rise in numbers of so-called alt-right organizations like the Proud Boys, who have been implicated in violent assaults against the people. You all should take that personally. You should take it personally because it is an attack on your community. It is an attack on our people, and we must defend our people. We know that meanwhile, those who choose to push back against these far-right organizations have faced against intense police repression. Tactics used against anti-fascist demonstrators are the same tactics used against striking contractual workers in the Philippines, demonstrating against Nutra-Asia and their $7 payday rate. We recognize that this is not an aberration, but rather the natural workings of the imperialist system in crises. We know that this is linked, and the fascist Proud Boys are ultimately, they are a tool of the financial elite. Get that right. None of y'all want to be tools today. None of y'all want to be tools. Community, let us connect these dots. The rise in fascism is a direct result of imperialism and crisis. Billionaires and the for-profit ruling system are driven by white supremacy, and they cannot hide the fact that the economic system is failing every single one of us. We have to see that on one hand are the ruling elite, and the other are immigrants escaping from proxy wars for natural resources, leading to militarizations of their communities. This also means the continued economic destabilization of their local economies. We have an impact on them. The hate and violence spewing from the mouths of fascists is a misguided attempt at blaming those most oppressed by imperialism, which includes migrants, immigrants, people of color, LGBTQ folks, poor and working class folks for the economic policies that only advantage the 1%. That is our true enemy, the 1%. We know this. It is not immigrants who are the threat of. We know that the immigrants are not the threat, but U.S. imperialism, which has waged wars of terror on people of color since the inception of this nation, since the stolen lands, since chattel slavery. We know where we are. We know that the land we are on is stolen. We must rectify this immediately. So when we choose to fight, we must fight against the root problems, y'all. It is not a reactionary thing. Do not be reactive. Understand that fascism is linked to imperialism and capitalism. And every day wake up knowing that is our fight. That is our collective fight. We should not only bash back against fascism, but we must out-organize the right. Say this with me. Out-organize the right. Out-organize the right. Out-organize the right. Thank you. We must be vigilant in our commitment to ending white supremacy. We must pull this rotten system out by its roots of capitalism and imperialism and fascism. We must be smarter, more creative, more excited to take up this work on the day-to-day, Portland. These old tactics of fascist and false racist narratives are a distraction. We must rise to the occasion and organize. Organize your grandma, organize your neighbor, organize your coworker, organize, organize, organize. And we must unite. And Mike Crenshaw said this, we must unite and wage a class struggle to expose fascism and imperialism. We must continually build community and to defend the rights of all oppressed communities against fascist ideology and organizing. ILPS will continue to rise with workers, migrants, indigenous people, African and queer and trans communities, and all others who work to fight against fascism, white supremacy, and imperialism. Again, we must organize the right. Our unity and our strength is the strongest weapon against the alt-right tyranny. Let us continue to fight for genuine democracy, justice, and liberation for all of us. Let us continue to organize. Let us build this world together. Down with white supremacy, down with fascism, bash back against fascism, and outright organize the organize the right. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. Thank you, Maria Salamat.
Wow. Angelica Lim, everyone. Thank you so much. So much. You can get online and search for Gabriella Portland and International League of People Struggle to connect with that amazing, inspiring work. Thank you. I want to give a quick shout out to our ASL interpreter today, Jet. Thank you so much. We're just going to keep it moving, folks. My name is Sarah. I'm the MC for Pop Mob, and our next speaker is going to be representing Jobs with Justice. We have Alyssa Pariah.
Oh yes, thank you. I'm the last one, and then we're gonna hit the streets. Everybody from side to side, from this side of the street to that one, all the way back. Can you hear me? I want to say thank you for being the resistance that the Democrats have been appropriating ever since J20. After Trump got elected and started energizing all of this trash, it's been on us to wage the fight. And J20 proved, coming out swinging, exactly what that looks like, and those are our comrades. People who engaged in anti-fascist action, militant action against fascism, against capitalism, against the state, were maligned by the people who tell us that they are the resistance. So we need to pay attention. When I say jobs with, you say justice. Jobs with, justice. Jobs with, justice. Jobs with, justice. Jobs with, justice. Why the hell is she talking about jobs with justice, and what does that have to do with fighting fascism? I'm gonna let you know. You wanna know? Yeah. The reason that the fash can turn out disaffected white people like they do, and even some people of color tokens like they have, is because the left has left a vacuum, so the right is getting an echo. These are people who don't have good jobs, that don't have secure futures, that can't depend on the lifestyle that this rotten system used to be able to provide for a select few of them. Because it was never available to somebody like me. In case you didn't know, and I hope you all hear me, and the people who don't like this, I hope you hear it, and I hope you have nightmares about it. I am a black Puerto Rican trans woman. Somebody like me is supposed to cower in fear. I'm supposed to hate myself because they hate me. No, because all these people are my comrades and they love me. What? So we know that a lot of the people that are in Patriot Prayer do not consciously identify with fascism and white supremacy. I'm no fool. They use a united front just like we ought to. They are able to trick these people who simply believe in an American dream. And they trick them. They talk about them the way a lot of us on the left will talk about liberals. That they're not really about it. But they'll use them and they call them conservatives behind their back. We know. So as long as they keep getting fooled and they keep turning out in numbers, we're just gonna have to keep coming out. Now, I have a message from Frederick Douglass. Y'all wanna hear it? Frederick Douglass has something to say. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom yet deprecate agitation are people who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. Now, for those of you who didn't pick up what I was putting down, I'm going to let you know what Frederick Douglass is telling us from the other side. When our trusted local paper puts out a list telling people what they can do in and around town instead of looking at a fascist future in its face. When our favorite city councilwoman co-signs it and says that people should not engage, I have something to say. And everybody that has a camera, put it on me, because I have a message for the people that they're trying to appeal to. If you are not ready to get into the streets and engage in direct anti-fascist action, well then please check the people who would have everyone believe that a winning strategy for fighting the ascendant right is to stay away. It is not in their nature to walk away when they are not paid attention to. They are not naive. They know how to build power. They know how to organize. And they will bop the liberals over the head that are protecting them today. We say that this shall not pass, and we mean it. This shall not pass. Are y'all ready to march? They're going to have some closing words for everybody. And I want to say that when we come back out, we need to bring more people, and more people, and more people, and more people. Because anti-fascist action has to be massive. So let's make it massive. I love you. I love you. I love you. Let's go.
Everybody, Alyssa Pariah. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Jobs with Justice. You can find them online. You can find them on Facebook. Thank you, Alyssa, for bringing us home. All right, folks. So I want to say one more time, my name is Sarah. I'm the MC for Pop Mob. We thank you all so much for coming out here today. This concludes the endorsed rally. We have ended the endorsed rally. We thank everyone who has come to join us today. If this is going to be your departure point, we thank you for coming out and showing up. We want you to go home and talk to your friends, your family, your community about what anti-fascism means to you and how you can help your friends, family, community show up to resist the alt-right and resist fascism in the ways that work for you. Bring people along. There's a place for everyone in this. It's wonderful. Excellent. So, this rally and its endorsements have ended. Like I said, if you're going to be leaving from here, we thank you for your powerful presence and showing up with us today. We invite everybody who wishes to stay and demonstrate to mobilize to the waterfront, moving as a large united group in solidarity against the alt-right. Look for marshals wearing bright vests. Make sure to stay in your groups and your buddies, and if there's a point where you want to leave, look for somebody in the safety team who's going to be wearing a bright green mask, and they can help escort you and get you to a point where you are going to feel a little safer. Other community supports to look for: medics, red tape, cross on the arm. Look for legal observers, NLG green hats. Also have jail support numbers. At any time, if you need to leave, find a buddy or reach out to a member of the safety team with green masks. So, like I said, the endorsed rally ended before I started making that announcement about our mobilization. And I want to give a little more information. Folks are going to mobilize. They're going to mobilize down 4th towards Salmon. The folks that are going to be helping with that mobilization are going to have green flags. Look for the green flags. That's going to be the direction that people are moving. And if that flag goes down, look around for another green flag, and that's going to be the direction that the crowd is going to move. So, move as a group in the streets following the green flag. It's going to be going down 4th towards Salmon. If the police block a street, front green flags are going to go down and a back or side green flag is going to go up, and the marshals are going to help turn and head the crowd with a new flag. The marshals are there to help human movement. They are going to try to make sure that there is the best human movement possible. They're not trying to boss you around, they're just trying to keep everybody moving. So, please keep the group together, keep the group moving in order to follow the flags around the police blocks. Thank you so much, everyone who made this happen. Thank you. Fighting fascism. All you bad fascists bound to lose.
On the move!
Organize them out. Out-organize the fascists. That was my favorite chant from today. Out-organize the right, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, so you just heard everything kind of ended here at City Hall. Things started up at about 10:30 this morning, lasted until 11:30. That was the official rally organized by a group called Pop Mob. That's short for Popular Mobilization. Of course, this is all in response to the Patriot Prayer rally that's supposed to be down at the waterfront starting at about noon. We're not there right now, so I'm not sure what it looks like, but I know that maybe some buses should have arrived with some of those Patriot Prayer ralliers already, potentially. Now it seems like a number of people might either leave this rally and go on their way, or some might even continue on to demonstrate a little further down at the waterfront. I think for right now, we're going to maybe go around and talk to some people about what made them come out today. A lot of speakers taking the podium during this rally, and really, I mean, right now, probably, a couple hundred people where we are standing right now, at least in terms of people who RSVP'd on the Facebook event page for this rally. 200 people said they were coming here. 469 or so said they were interested, of course, here to oppose Patriot Prayer's rally. They say that they are activists, organizers from a whole lot of different groups, including labor rights, arts, education, healthcare, all sorts of different groups. They say they're pushing back against hate-fueled rhetoric and the insurgent right, quote unquote. And so now you see people mobilizing, and this is actually not the only counter-protest that is going on. Of course, Pop Mob organizing this one, but another counter-protest coming up from Eugene. I believe the Eugene chapter of Antifa is supposed to be coming to Portland as well, joined by the Pacific Northwest Anti-Fascist Workers Collective, as well as Rose City Antifa. That event on Facebook I think about 250 people, a little more, said they were going. 1,000 people said they were interested. That second group, the second counter-protest group from Eugene and in the area, is supposed to arrive at Tomahawk Waterfront Park at about 11:30. Which is just before Patriot Prayer is supposed to be showing up there as well. We've heard from Portland police that people are not allowed to have weapons or anything that could be used as weapons down at Waterfront Park. And this is because there's a lot of concern, especially because we've witnessed a number of Patriot Prayer rallies where people with Patriot Prayer and counter-protesters have clashed and it's turned violent. The last one was in late June, and everything seemed to be going relatively okay until people started marching. That was in June. A number of people injured, some hospitalized, some arrests for sure. But now you can see just kind of a crowd of people moving from this rally that officially ended, moving toward the waterfront where the Patriot Prayer rally is going to be held. So we'll just go ahead and follow them. The Patriot Prayer rally is officially called the Gibson for Senate Freedom March. And that is also because Joey Gibson, the leader of that conservative group, Patriot Prayer, is running as a U.S. Senate candidate out of Washington State. Something also to notate is that the group Proud Boys is involved in that rally. They call themselves the greatest fraternal organization in the world. They're self-described Western chauvinists. And they say that means they display aggressive or excessive patriotism. They say things like the West is best, things like they long for the days when girls were girls, men were men. And they deny any connection to racism, saying they're just anti-political correctness and anti-white guilt. But I will say that reading around online, the Southern Poverty Law Center designates the Proud Boys as a hate group associated with white nationalism, anti-Muslim, misogynistic rhetoric. The Proud Boys and people with that group have been seen alongside other extreme groups at rallies like the Unite the Right rally, you may remember, happening in August of 2017. That one was in Charlottesville, where a car plowed into pedestrians. It resulted in one death, injuries, and that was where white nationalists clashed with counter-protesters over plans to remove a Confederate statue. So right now we're walking along 4th, headed towards Southwest Main. You can see this sea of people walking in the street. And Joey Gibson, the leader of Patriot Prayer, has said that people are encouraged to bring guns to their rally. He said, quote, everyone should be carrying around guns at all times, especially people in our situation. He said that over a Facebook Live broadcast earlier in the week. He also said they don't want people to die, but they respect the Second Amendment and they want to defend themselves in case things get ugly. You can see a lot of signs, no racism, no fascism, no hate. I will say Portland police, they've said on Twitter that it's against the law to carry a loaded gun in the city unless people have a valid Oregon concealed handgun license. And Oregon does not have a concealed handgun reciprocity law with any state, so it's a crime to carry a concealed handgun here unless you have a valid Oregon concealed weapons license. Of course, Portland police will have an increased presence down at the waterfront, and there will be security checkpoints as well as bomb-sniffing dogs. Okay, we're getting to Salmon now. Probably gonna hang a right here with everyone else. Again, if you're just joining us, we were at Portland City Hall at 10:30. That's when this group mobilized, holding their own rally, which is the counter-protest to the Patriot Prayer rally that is going to go on at the waterfront. The sanctioned rally at City Hall with the counter-protesters has officially ended. Now, a ton of these people, of their own volition, are walking toward the waterfront. The Patriot Prayer rally is scheduled to begin at about noon. There could be some Patriot Prayer folks there already. If you're unfamiliar with that group, they're a conservative group led by a man named Joey Gibson. Some of these people are just everyday Portland residents, people who live in the area, who oppose the group Patriot Prayer. Another group that organized the rally we just left was a group called Pop Mob, which is short for Popular Mobilization. They encompass a number of different organizations and different groups, including Antifa, which is basically a group of people who are anti-fascists. They oppose Patriot Prayer. They've been known to track local neo-Nazis. They're a leftist group focused on directly fighting the far right, often made up of a bunch of different people, anarchists, socialists, communists. Some groups promote violence, others don't. And each Antifa group is a bit autonomous and not really too much interconnected with a lot of other Antifa groups. Now we're at 2nd and Salmon, headed toward the waterfront. Oh, sorry. Looks like people are mobilizing. Gonna continue on here. We're approaching Waterfront Park here, Salmon Street Springs. grab my guy here. And Kurt, there are a bunch of people, so we just decided to talk to one of these people, and I didn't even catch your name.
Mary.
Mary, and are you a Portland resident?
I am a Portland resident.
Okay, so what made you decide you're going to come out with all these people?
I just feel like we have to show up. It's astounding. Every week, every day, it seems to be worse, not getting better. You think it's going to hit bottom, and I just think at a certain point we have to make a stand.
I think a lot of people are concerned about the presence of guns and potential violence. What is your plan on that, and how are you feeling?
Well, I didn't bring my kids. My heart is, feels a little tense, but I think we have to face them with our courage and our conviction and our persistence that we're just not going to give up and give up our country.
And what message do you want to communicate to our legislators, to people who are in office?
Well, I think that the open carry gun laws that are allowing those people to be lawfully there with their open carry and making this crazy, dangerous situation has to change. I mean, this is just ridiculous that is a legal action on their part to create that sort of violent situation here. And so I really hope that they'll work on that, and then I hope that we will preserve our sanctuary city. We're going to fight the federal laws as long as we can here in the state.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
So you just heard from one of the demonstrators out here, one of the many, the hundreds that are here. We're on the other side of Salmon Street Springs right now. And there you just saw a sign regarding the Proud Boys. If you're unfamiliar with that group, they are supposed to be involved in this rally as well. Portland police telling people to remain on the sidewalk, but everyone is in the street right now. They're saying the pedestrian crossings are closed, if you can hear that. Lots of signs, you saw that scarf there, against fascism.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Southwest Nato is closed. The pedestrian crossings are closed. Remain on the sidewalk.
If you're just joining us, we're here at the waterfront. This is where Patriot Prayer has organized a rally, and you see all these people. We're on the west side of Nato. These are all people who are counter-protesters. They were at Portland City Hall a little bit earlier, started showing up at 10:30, stayed there till 11:30, and then now we have walked all the way down to Waterfront Park, which is where, as you can see across the way, Patriot Prayer folks are gathered. If you're unfamiliar with that group, they're a very conservative group led by Joey Gibson. He's also running as a U.S. Senate candidate in Washington State. As I've mentioned before, Proud Boys, that group has been associated with Patriot Prayer as well. They call themselves the greatest fraternal organization in the world, saying things like the West is the best. They say they're anti-political correctness, anti-white guilt. They say they're not racist. But the Southern Poverty Law Center says the Proud Boys are a hate group.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Southwest Nato is closed. The pedestrian crossings are closed. Remain on the sidewalk.
And right now we're just standing at the intersection of Nato and Salmon. You can see Portland police maintaining a line in front of this group that we're with right now that has moved from City Hall down to the waterfront. These are the counter-protesters that are on our side of the street. They're counter-protesting the Patriot Prayer rally that's supposed to begin right about now. You can see a lot of people singing, demonstrating, and then across the way, that is Patriot Prayer, along with the Proud Boys. That's another group affiliated with them, and the leader of Patriot Prayer, which is Joey Gibson.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Southwest Nato is closed. The pedestrian crossings are closed. Remain on the sidewalk.
Just joining us now, the side of the street that we're on has counter-protesters. They are here to counter-protest the Patriot Prayer rally that is going on across the way at Salmon Street Springs. We're here at Waterfront Park at the intersection of Nato Parkway and Salmon. You can see Portland police have set up a barrier. They have gone over the intercom, the loudspeaker, to say that people cannot cross Nato, telling people to stay on the sidewalks. And you may remember the last Patriot Prayer protest that happened here in downtown Portland was in late June. That one was pretty okay for quite a while, but then people started moving, they started marching, and once that happened, both the Patriot Prayer folks and counter-protesters started clashing. There were some hospitalizations, some arrests made. So here you can see Portland police really trying to keep everyone separated. The leader of Patriot Prayer, Joey Gibson, is also running for U.S. Senate out of Washington State. I think what's concerning a lot of people is that on a Facebook live stream, he said that he encouraged people, especially with Patriot Prayer, to bring guns to the rally. He said, quote, everyone should be carrying around guns at all times, especially people in our situation. He went on to say he doesn't want people to die, but also wants to respect the Second Amendment and defend themselves if things get ugly. Portland police, though, they've told people to not bring any type of weapon or anything that could be considered a weapon down here to the waterfront. They say they will confiscate it permanently. And via Twitter, they say it's against the law to carry a loaded gun in the city unless they have a valid Oregon concealed handgun license. And, you know, even then, a lot of people with Patriot Prayer over there on that side of the street, a lot of people say they're from out of town. They've come from out of town to this rally here in Portland. And Portland police say Oregon has no concealed handgun reciprocity with any state, and it's a crime to carry a concealed handgun unless you have a valid Oregon concealed weapons license.
Southwest Salmon crosswalks are closed.
You can see an increased
This is the Portland
presence
Police
here
Bureau.
too, law enforcement.
Southwest Nato Parkway and Southwest Salmon crosswalks are closed.
Again, reiterating, they're not letting anyone cross Nato Parkway here, trying to keep everyone separated to lessen the chances of a scuffle and violence, because that has been the concern. I read up on national websites, national news sites that talked about concern that this could become very violent. And you can see Portland police are really prepared, outfitted in their riot gear, their batons, everything just in case. They even have security checkpoints over on the waterfront side, on the east side of Nato. They also have bomb-sniffing dogs, apparently. And so you can get an idea for how many people there might be down here. The Gibson for Senate Freedom March, which is the Patriot Prayer rally across the way, 365 people on Facebook said they were going. 600 or so, a little over that, 650 said they were interested in going. On this side of Nato, which is the west side of Nato.
Portland Police Bureau. Southwest Nato Parkway and Southwest Salmon crosswalks are closed.
So on this side of Nato, we've got counter protesters with Pop Mob and Antifa and a bunch of other different organizations, people who live in Portland, all here to counter protest what's going on the other side, which is Patriot Prayer's rally, of course. 200 or so people said they were coming to the counter protest on Facebook. Almost 500 said they were interested. Another counter protest organized by Eugene Antifa, as well as Rose City Antifa and the Pacific Northwest Anti-Fascist Workers Collective, on their event, which is kind of a second counter-protest. Almost 300 said they were going. 1,000 people said they were interested. So hundreds of people down here right now. I'll just grab my guy over there.
Come on, Donna. Let's go that way.
Yeah.
Down the next.
And I think we'll talk to a couple people real quick. People actually visiting from out of town, and they're here supporting the counter protesters here after getting done with some hugs. Yeah, and you said you're from Denver, correct?
Denver, yeah.
What's your name?
My name's John Huberts.
Okay, and what are you doing here? You're not here necessarily for this event, right?
Well, I'm here for this event, yeah. I'm just in town for a conference, and I heard this event was going on and thought I would come and show my support and solidarity for the dismantling of white supremacy, to call out fascism for the evil that it is.
And in Denver, have you been a part of any of the protests there?
Yes. Yes, I have, yeah. I'm a part of an organization called No Enemies in Denver, which is a bunch of song leaders that go to activist events, whether they're rallies or protests or marches, and we lead singing with the people that are there. Yeah.
So you've been to some Portland, or this Portland event now. You've led some Denver ones, or at least gone to those. How does this event, the counter protest here, compare to what you've been involved with?
It's festive, which is wonderful. It's great to have the brass band here and to show that that love is and joy and equality are all possible if we are just able to kind of keep everyone's perspectives in mind. And I think that Yeah, I'm enjoying that aspect of it here. I really appreciated the speakers at the rally and their perspective. They were very willing to get to the root cause of some of the evil that is in our world, maybe in a way that Denver is reticent to do. So, I don't know if I can compare much more than that. Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. And I didn't even catch your name.
My name's Suzanne.
Suzanne, and you're from Canada.
Toronto, Ontario. We've at home seen a lot of increase in guns and hate, and I haven't been to a supremacist rally before. I wanted to come and see the face of the enemy. And be in the support with everyone else that's doing the same thing here. I like seeing so many people supporting love and peace and ready to face the face of hate just across the street from us there.
I think a lot of counter-protesters would say that they're not in support of our current president, President Donald Trump. Internationally, I mean, you're from Canada. You know, what is the feeling? What is the view of America from just kind of a Canadian's perspective? I'm just curious.
We just think you're real fucked up down here. Not you guys, but like the people that would want this kind of leader, and that it's making it normal. It's making hate normal for people and making it okay. It's full of lies all the time, and it's making public lying okay. It's making oppression okay. It's like very scary for us up north. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. And again, we're here on the west side of Nato, and we apologize for any profanity. Can't control that too much, especially if we're Facebook Live. But if you look across the way, that is Patriot Prayer over there, all gathered up. And we would go talk to folks over there, but we can't because police have blocked off the street. They've told people they cannot cross Nato Parkway, and this is because there's a lot of concern over safety and violence, particularly I think because Joey Gibson, who is the leader of Patriot Prayer, has said on a Facebook Live feed that people should carry guns, especially the people in their situation.
You guys need to clean the dog yet?
No. Portland police have said people should not bring anything that could be considered a weapon down here. They've also said that people who don't have a concealed handgun license, you're not allowed to carry a loaded gun in the city unless you have one of those. Also, I know that Patriot Prayer, they have a bunch of people, and some people who have come from out of town, from different states across the country. Portland police have also said that Oregon has no concealed handgun reciprocity with any state, and it's a crime to carry a concealed handgun unless you have a valid Oregon concealed weapons license.
That's a big unless, isn't it? I mean, they should have just kept them from carrying weapons. It's ridiculous.
And I didn't even catch your name.
You didn't, and you won't. But why should they allow guns in? A lot of these horrid people have handgun licenses. That's absurd.
And I mean, I think a lot of the people that we've spoken to, or some of the people we've spoken to on camera and off camera, feel that bringing guns might incite violence. I mean, how do you feel about...
Of course they shouldn't allow them to bring guns. You're not allowed to carry guns if it's in a terrorist demonstration. I mean, that's completely wrong, and they should have said no guns in the park. Zero. Gun permit or not.
And they say they're...
That door they're giving them, isn't it? None of us carry guns.
And they're saying that they're just, making use of their Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, bullshit Second Amendment rights. This is a terrorist organization. The power to hate is not implied in the Second Amendment. This is a false dichotomy.
Are you a Portland resident?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Again, hearing from some of the counter-protesters who are on this side of the street. Across the way from Salmon Street Springs, police have blocked off Nato Parkway so nobody can get across, which is probably a good idea because in the past where we've seen clashes, it can get pretty violent. So that was, of course, the concern today. We are stuck on this side of the street. We might try to get across, but police have said that they don't want anybody, that they're not allowing anyone to cross Nato Parkway here. We've been talking to the people on our side because that's who we've had access to, the counter-protesters. But right now, police have said no one can cross Nato Parkway. They're trying to create a barrier here between counter-protesters and the Patriot Prayer people. I'm going to maybe ask police to see if I can cross because would like to talk to someone on the Patriot Prayer side as well. So hold on just a second. I'll go ask police and see if we can cross.
Proud Boys have got to go. Hey, hey. Proud Boys have got to go. Hey, hey.
Does that mean media can't cross either? Or
For right now, I think everybody, they want us to stand this and nobody's going to go across the
okay,
street.
yeah, I heard it over the
Once
loudspeaker.
one person goes across,
Then people, other
everybody's
people
gonna
want to go. Okay, thank you. Okay, so you just heard from Portland police there. It doesn't look like we'll be able to cross the street because they're trying to kind of create a barricade so that people don't cross. If one media person crosses, they say maybe other people might think to cross themselves. So they're just trying to make sure no violence ensues. And you know, while we can't go over there to talk to Patriot Prayer folks, I have interviewed Joey Gibson myself. He's a big proponent of free speech, talks about Second Amendment rights, which is why he encouraged people who is coming to his rally to carry a gun. He said via his Facebook Live earlier this week that everyone should be carrying around guns at all times, especially people in our situation, is what he said. He also took note to say that at all of their rallies, there have been people who have carried guns. Thank you. Okay, so it looks like we might be able to cross. So we're going to try to go ahead and cross to the Patriot Prayer side, maybe talk to some of those folks. I just got the go-ahead from Portland police after I spoke with them. We have to go down a street, I believe, and talk to the Portland police on bikes down this way and tell them what we've been told. Hi, a Portland police officer down that way, I'm with KGW, told me to come talk to you guys.
To cross the street?
Oh,
just
yes.
cross the street there?
And then cross over there. Thank you. Okay, so we're crossing.
How are you? Good, how are you, Lou? Fine, good to see you. You too. You'll be joining us.
Again, we're trying to cross the street to talk to some Patriot Prayer ralliers. This is the only way across, and this is the way that Portland police have told us as media that we can go, because we can't cross where all the other counter-protesters are. They don't want other people thinking they can cross as well. And right now, Portland police are just trying to create a barrier using Nato Parkway because they don't want anybody to clash. And you can see down that way, actually, the barrier of Portland police. Okay, we're hoping to cross here soon. There's a lot of traffic here, and that's another good point, actually. If you're headed downtown, just know that there is a lot of backup going on, especially near the waterfront. So if you can, just avoid it down here, just because there are hundreds of people out here protesting and counter-protesting. Okay, let's cross. Okay, I suppose we will have to go this way and through. And you can see Portland police lining this entire way, and they've put up this fence here too, trying to make sure people don't get across. And again, for a while, police would not let us cross Nato Parkway. But after we asked and waited for a bit, they told us how to get over here. And so that's what we're doing, is we're trying to talk to some of the Patriot Prayer ralliers. Okay, we're getting closer to Salmon Street Springs, where the main rally is. Okay. Okay, so now we've made it to the other side of the street after having to walk maybe a block or two around. Should we go?
Just walking this way.
Okay. Okay, so this is the view now from the Salmon Street Springs side of things, looking across the way at the counter-protesters.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. All crosswalks across Southwest Nato Parkway between Southwest Main and Southwest Salmon are closed. Pedestrians are not
Okay, so we've talked to some of the counter-protesters on that side of the street. We came over here to talk to Patriot Prayer and some of the supporters. I didn't even catch your name.
Jesse.
Jesse, and are you from Portland?
Born in Portland, grew up in Gresham.
Okay. And what made you decide, hey, I'm coming out here today?
Mainly because I just think it's a shame that people can't come out and express their political opinions without Antifa harassing people. And the march that happened on June 30th, I just seen how violent and just disturbing it was. And I just wanted to come out and just pretty much support America and just show that I think that you should be able to come out, hold the American flag high, and support America and support people's right to say what they want as long as they're not physically harming anybody.
And we've heard from a lot of other people who are, supporters of Patriot Prayer say the same thing. But on the counter-protester side, they're talking about racism and fascism.
Like, everybody over here is trying to just express their opinions, how they like the president, and how they support America, and they're trying to shut our opinion down. So that's why I think that we actually have more diversity. I think we are more accepting of other people's views than they are.
And what do you think about Joey Gibson saying, hey, most of the people with Patriot Prayer should have guns with them? That's made some of the people on the other side concerned that might incite violence.
No, I don't think so. I have my permit. I'm not harming anybody. If you have a license to carry, you should be able to carry and protect yourself. That just because if you have a license to carry, that's not a guarantee that you're going to hurt people. People that are like intentionally coming here trying to intimidate people with violence or hurt them, no, that's not okay. Like, follow the law. If you have a permit, I think you should be able to carry, but if you don't. Like, don't carry any type of weapon that you're not supposed to unless you're allowed to. So that's what I think about that.
Thank you so much. So was I clear that you said that you have a concealed carry permit, and so you decided, hey, I'm making use of it, so you're carrying today?
I do have a permit. I'm not going to disclose if I'm carrying or not.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Okay, so you just heard from one of the protesters, one of the ralliers here on this side.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, sure. So somebody...
Winston Churchill, the fascists of tomorrow will call themselves anti-fascists.
What are your thoughts when you're looking over, you see all these people out here protesting against Patriot Prayer?
I see that communist flag, and that to me is a very, very bad sign, because I came from a communist country, and they are not good people, trust me.
And some of the people over there would say that Patriot Prayer and Proud Boys, which is another organization that's here as well, some of the people over there would say, hey, that organization is racist. There's a lot of, views that aren't accepting of everybody. What would you say to that?
Everybody's allowed their view, and I will fight to protect that. They have their views, I have my views.
Thank you. Not really sure what's going on over there, but a man is being escorted out by police. Looks like he may just need a bit of fresh air sitting down on the curb there.
Why am I here? To put down fascist speech. All fascist speech. I don't know you.
If you're just joining us on Facebook Live,
Officers have observed people armed with weapons near Southwest Seaman Street and Southwest Nato Parkway. People on the west side of Southwest Nato must leave the area immediately. Failure to comply with this order be subject you to arrest and may subject you to the use of riot control agents or impact weapons.
So you just heard there, Portland police saying they've seen people with weapons.
Near Southwest Seaman Street and Southwest Nato Parkway. People on the west side of Southwest Nato must leave the area immediately. Failure to comply with this order be subject you to arrest and may subject you to the use of riot control agents or impact weapons. Officers have observed people armed with weapons near Southwest Seaman Street and Southwest Nato Parkway. People on the west side of Southwest Nato must leave the area immediately.
If I'm on the right, so it's a mixture. All right. What do leftists do that are racist?
These people here, all of us, regardless of persona, it's always you guys on the left, because I was putting out this hateful rhetoric.
Which thing? Can you give me one example?
Maxine Waters is hate speech, dude. Hate speech.
I don't know who that is. I'm sorry.
You're an idiot.
I really don't.
Inform yourself before you come out here. Inform yourself, man.
I came out here with a megaphone to talk over fascist speech. So I'm just gonna walk away from this conversation. I'm not a fascist. Let's start it.
There you see a man trying to encourage some dialogue.
Right now, I'm getting shoved back this way. I hope you realize that I've been shoved several times. Oh no, you're the one who shoved me in the first place. Are there any cops around? I don't think... Let's go to the what? No.
What's going on? No, dude, it's...
What?
Stop. Do you see what's going on? Hey.
Okay, we're getting out of that.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Officers have observed people armed with weapons near Southwest Salmon Street and Southwest Nato Parkway.
So you saw a little shoving and pushing there.
Southwest Nato.
A guy trying to talk.
By traveling west. Failure to comply with this order may subject you to arrest or
You know, really hoping that it doesn't get worse out here. We've seen a number of rallies and protests that have become violent before. So that is something that we've seen, and if it happened today, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, that's for sure. Okay, it looks like Portland's police are trying to push people back on the west side of Nato Parkway there. They've already made an announcement saying that they had observed people with weapons and that people on the west side need to leave.
Officers have observed people armed with weapons near Southwest Salmon Street and Southwest Nato Parkway. People on the west side of Southwest Nato must leave the area immediately by traveling west. Failure to comply with this order may subject you to arrest or citation, and may subject you to the use of riot control agents or impact weapons.
It doesn't appear people over there are moving. A lot of them have their hands up to signal that they don't have any weapons. But Portland police have said no weapons or anything that could be used as weapons are allowed here. And you can also see just how much of a barricade they're kind of putting up, trying to make sure people don't clash.
Officers have observed people armed with weapons near Southwest Salmon Street and Southwest Nato Parkway. People on the west side of Southwest Nato must leave the area immediately by traveling west. Failure to comply with this order may subject you to arrest or citation, and may subject you to the use of riot control agents or impact weapons.
And here, let's talk to somebody else here on the Patriot Prayer side of the street. I didn't even catch your name.
I'm Victoria.
Victoria, are you in Are you guys moved to yeah. And Victoria, are you from Portland?
I've lived here about 1.5 years now. I'm a visual journalism student, and I volunteer with the Red Cross, and that's how I heard about this rally happening today, and thought I would come out to see because the last one turned into a big thing. So, yeah.
Are you here in support of Patriot Prayer then?
No, I am not.
Oh, you're not. You're just on this side of things.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. And what have you observed so far? I mean, I've been on that side for much of the time, and then we just got over here.
I just showed up and I just got here, so I haven't seen much yet.
Okay. And what's your feeling? I mean, a lot of people said they were concerned about possible violence.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading about the last time they were here, and it turned into a big riot, and that they hired their own private security this time, and that a lot of people were expected to carry weapons, and so, you know, it seems like it's a possibility.
Okay, thank you so much. And it looks like a lot of people are moving down here. A lot of people in riot gear. They're kind of homemade riot gear moving down the way. Unsure if that's because police want them to do that, maybe to reduce on the possibility of conflict with everybody on the other side, the counter-protesters.
I wonder if we're being kettled. This isn't a kettle. You're not not tricking us into a kettle, are you?
No, we're good. That's much peaceful today, folks.
Are Portland police telling you guys just to move down the way so that you're not right across the way? Oh, okay. And again, it looks like people are just moving down the way. And we're on the Salmon Street Springs side of Nato Parkway. And if you're just joining us, because I know people are always tuning into Facebook Live at different times, we're here at the Gibson for Senate Freedom March. If you're unfamiliar with Joey Gibson, he is the leader of Patriot Prayer, a very conservative group. Also here at the rally is another group called the Proud Boys. They call themselves the greatest fraternal organization in the world. They say they're Western chauvinists, which means aggressive or excessive patriotism. They say things like the West is best. They want girls to be girls, men to be men. They say they are not connected to racism, but that they say they're just all about anti-political correctness, anti-white guilt. However, the Southern Poverty Law Center has categorized the Proud Boys as a hate group, saying they're associated with white nationalism, misogynistic rhetoric, have been seen alongside extreme groups at rallies like the August 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. You may remember that. Almost 400 people said they were coming to this march, the Patriot Prayer March. More than 650 saying they're interested. So we're talking about hundreds of people down here. At this point, it's slightly unclear why people are moving north, assuming it's because they want less of a potential for conflict with all the counter-protesters on the other side of Nato Parkway. Do you know what? Is everybody moving because they were told to go down that way?
Yeah, Joey Gibson's bringing everybody into the fenced area. Yeah.
Okay. I think Joey's potentially over there somewhere. Here, let's try to go maybe and...
How much battery power?
It says 100% battery. It says 100%. Okay, so we're moving north along Nato because a lot of the Patriot Prayer ralliers have done so. They say Joey Gibson, who is the leader of Patriot Prayer, kind of led everyone this way. We're gonna try to find Joey here.
The thing is, they know if we get searched, then we're disarmed. That's why.
And there's Joey. Hold on. I'm gonna try to see if we can talk to him. Hey, Joey. Hey, Christine with KGW. Was wondering if I could talk to you as we walk, if you're trying to head somewhere.
Okay.
Okay. So in terms of today's rally, as it's turning out right now, what are your thoughts?
Good. Police
Okay.
are doing their job.
And in terms of moving north here along Nato, what's the idea behind that?
Coming inside? You mean? The police asked us to.
I see.
They won't disarm us.
So in terms of seeing all the counter-protesters on the other side of the street, how does that strike you? Obviously hundreds of people.
It's good. It's good. It's First Amendment.
Yeah, and I know you're running for a Senate seat, right?
Yes, I am.
Is that part of today's decision to rally out here?
Yeah, we have a primary on Tuesday, so.
Okay, and I know, you might have gotten some flack. I know you did a Facebook Live about the guns thing. What is your response to people who say that, hey, bringing guns might incite violence? And
we always have guns.
Sorry?
We always have guns.
And what about
I didn't ask people to bring it. I just said we always have guns. So.
Like at other rallies and things, right?
Every single rally, we can still carry.
Okay, and.
People can still carry. Everybody can. I mean, tons of people can still carry.
Okay, and in regards to the Proud Boys, a lot of people, the Southern Poverty Law Center categorizes that group as a hate group. Yeah. What would you say?
What's that?
Southern Oregon or Southern Poverty Law Center has categorized the Proud Boys as a hate group.
Southern Poverty Law Center is probably one of the worst sources you can ever go. That's why they're getting sued by many organizations. If you're pro-life, you're a hate group. If you're against gay marriage, you're a hate group. Ask Southern Poverty Law Center how many people on the left do they call out? How many people on the left do they call as hate groups? It's a biased group, and they raise money. They raised $150,000 off of me when I went down to San Francisco by slandering my name. They opened up a GoFundMe account, raised $150,000. It's all about money, and they're not going to last very long.
Are you trying to change anybody's views? I mean, those people over there, they have their views, you have yours, obviously, but coming out
Over
here...
where?
On the other side, counter-protesters.
Oh, well, there's tons of people with different beliefs and ideas. I think that eventually we got to come together, but we can't do it if Antifa's in the middle constantly causing violence. Get those guys out of the way, and then we'll be able to come together and just be able to learn and grow from one another. We don't have all the answers, but they don't either. So,
to people who don't know what you're all about and the beliefs that you have, Patriot Prayer, Proud Boys, in a simple way, what is it that you guys are trying to convey, your message? Because I feel like a lot of people on the counter-protester side would say, hey, these guys are racist, these guys don't, accept people for who they are.
I would say, why is it that we have way more color than they have? I'm darker than 90% of those people over there that call me racist. It's not about race, it's about what's on the inside. We're here to promote freedom and God, and that is it. And we actually have that American spirit where we're going to stand up for what we believe in, unapologetically, unafraid. Our country's getting soft. It's getting soft, and we need leaders to step up. That's it. It's that simple. Anything else?
No, unless there's something else you want to add.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, you just heard from Joey Gibson, the leader of Patriot Prayer there, as he continues to walk forward. This Patriot Prayer rally is supposed to last till about 4 p.m. And it officially started at noon, so it's only 12:30 right now. So unsure how this could all turn out.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Stay out of the street and stay on the sidewalk.
How you doing? Thanks for coming out. Hey, how many times we called Uncle Tom today? Actually, I haven't got time with him. Appreciate it, yeah.
And if you didn't hear, we just spoke with Joey Gibson, the leader of Patriot Prayer. He says that the reason they're out here is because they're supporting Second Amendment rights, their right to free speech. And now we're just kind of moving north on Nato Parkway right now. Oh, and it looks like counter-protesters are following Patriot Prayer ralliers as everyone walks north. Portland police apparently had told people who are a part of the Patriot Prayer rally to walk north, possibly to try to reduce the potential for conflict with counter-protesters.
Stay out of the street and stay on the sidewalk. This is the Portland Police Bureau. Stay out of the street and stay on the sidewalk. This is the Portland Police Bureau. Stay out of the street and stay on the sidewalk. the sidewalk.
Bumping into you. Does it bug you if I try and sheepdog you or hold you?
No, if you think I'm doing the wrong thing,
not that you're doing the wrong thing, I just want to let you know.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Stay out of the street and stay on the sidewalk. This is the Portland Police Bureau. Stay out of the street and stay on the sidewalk.
Over there, lots of signs that I'm seeing by the counter-protesters. Alt-right scum not welcome to Portland, says one. Another one that says anti-fascist zone, check your privilege. And if you're just joining us, we came over here to this side of Nato Parkway, I don't know, maybe 10, maybe 15 or so minutes ago, 15, 20 minutes ago, but we spent a decent amount of time with the counter-protesters on their side, talking to them as well.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Stay out of the street and stay on the sidewalk.
Sorry, KGW. Open to interviews with. Sorry, open to interviews with. Are you? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And what is your name?
My name is Edie Dixon.
Edie Dixon?
Yes.
Are you from Portland? Or?
I am from Portland.
Okay. What made you decide, hey, I'm coming out here today?
Well, I've started coming to the Patriot Prayer rallies from the very beginning. I go as a band from performing in important gay clubs after coming out as pro-Trump. So after coming to my first Patriot Prayer meeting, Joey Gibson reached out to me and was like, I want you to know I did see you at the rally. We do welcome you. And I've been here. I've been at every single Patriot Prayer rally ever since. And as a transgender individual, I've never felt judgment or isolation by coming to these rallies, because they're so big on individual liberties and individual freedoms that they would be hypocrites if they were to tell me that I'm not allowed.
And I mean, it's interesting that you say, you're transgender, LGBTQ, part of that community. Because many of the people in the same community, in the LGBTQ community, would say that President Trump is starting to limit LGBTQ rights. How would you feel? What would you say to other people in the LGBTQ community? And do you feel that the president is limiting rights for LGBTQ people?
Well, I would tell the LGBT community that we are safer and we are freer when the states control our rights. We cannot have one monarchy control everybody in every region. We need to limit it to the states, so the states with the larger gay populations can make rules to adjust to that population, to that demographic. And as far as the Trump's attempt at the transgender military ban, I am completely for that, because I am for completely equal treatment, and the military medical disqualifying guidelines do say if you're medically reliant, you cannot enlist. Transgender people, most of us, are medically reliant. So I don't think there should be any exception to us, to diabetics. If you are medically reliant, regardless if you are trans or not, PC out the window, you should not serve. You are not fit to serve.
And, I guess the reason that you decided to come to some of these rallies, is it because you said people didn't agree with your decision to support President Trump? Is that?
Yes. It was very early on when I became red-pilled because I was a liberal and I voted Obama twice, but I didn't like how things were going. The typical story, got red-pilled. I announced on social media that I voted for Obama and I supported his travel ban. And I literally got messages literally a few hours later from the clubs canceling my performances, saying due to my me supporting Trump and the political climate that it would be best for me not to perform.
And I know another group that's associated with the rally is the Proud Boys, and some people have said, hey, you know what, they're anti-Muslim, anti-gay, racist. Of course, they don't say that they are any of those things. They just say, they're the greatest fraternity on the planet. But, what are your views on the Proud Boys then?
So the Proud Boys, I have my best friend is a Proud Boy. I have dated a Proud Boy, and the Proud Boys have gay Proud Boy members. I have been told by numerous Proud Boys, oh, you're trans, you can join the group. You're biologically male. I don't, I choose not to, but they're not what the media portrays them, because they are multiracial. Their sexual orientation is all over the place. They're just politically incorrect. And people need to understand that political correctness is an ideology, not racism. So if somebody is politically incorrect, they're just not participating in an ideology, they're just not necessarily racist. So people who, they might use lingo, even I might use lingo that may seem homophobic or transphobic, but it's just breaking the mold and desensitizing the public to political incorrectness, because we do feel political correctness is an ideology that's infiltrating and converting into communism and socialism in a place that we don't want.
And have you met, I guess, very many trans, gay, LGBTQ people in these rallies here with Patriot Prayer and stuff, or?
Yes, like trans for system, because Sharia law goes against democracy. You can't have both. And I don't believe it's a religion, and I believe it should be banned for trying to interfere with our democracy.
Okay. Anything else you want to add about your beliefs and what you believe may be misconstrued in reports or in the media or anything?
Yeah, well, I'm labeled as a racist homophobe, but I really want to get out that political correctness is not racism. Political correctness is an ideology, so not participating in that ideology doesn't necessarily make somebody a racist. It makes somebody exercising their freedom of speech. And when we use it, it's not that we are using it in our everyday lives. We're using it in a way that we're trying to desensitize the public, saying it's okay. I am a tranny, and it's okay to say that. I don't want you to be fired for calling me a he. I want people to have their own opinions, and I want people to choose to call me what pronouns. Like, I don't want to force my pronouns on other people.
And I don't know how you feel about this, but say somebody uses the N-word against somebody who's African American, and obviously that has very deep roots in terms of slavery and all that in the United States.
If there's not an open dialogue with that person of color, that person of color is going to definitely look at it as racism, and he's going to react how he reacts. I wouldn't recommend somebody use that word unless there was an actual dialogue where there was a comfort and acceptance, a welcoming from the person of color to use that word. But if someone shouts it in a racial, we're not racist, so people yelling it in a racist way, of course I'm completely against. But people using that word in dialogue, in open dialogue, should not be condemned as racist.
And you had said, you don't want somebody to get fired if they called you a tranny, in your own words. Does that go for the scenario that we talked about just a second ago in terms of people of color?
A lot of trans people don't look at tranny as a slur. A lot of trannies call themselves trannies, so it's not as oppressive as the N-word is. It's like person of color. It's an acronym. It's just a shorter way to say it. It's not offensive to most trans people. There are some trans activists or LGBT activists who have gone to the extreme with it, but for the most part, trans people are not offended by the word tranny.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand, because if you don't want to, if it's not PC, and you don't want people to get fired over saying whatever might be offensive, what if it is, to whoever you're saying it to?
There's a level, if somebody, it's the what's the word I'm looking for? It's the context that it's said in. If it's like, hey, tranny, of course, that's offensive. But if someone's having an open dialogue saying, is tranny offensive? Or if I say, people should be welcome or comfortable to have these open dialogues. I'm not saying openly yell at people and label people these things. I'm saying we need to get to a point where we are desensitized.
Supports the Proud Boys and Patriot Prayer. Turning your attention now to what's going on here, you can see police still creating this barrier here along Nato Parkway, not wanting people to converge, to really come into conflict, because we've seen at other protests, at other rallies, things can get pretty violent in not very much time. I can tell you that we started at Salmon Street Springs, where there are hundreds of people on the west side of Nato Parkway. Police said they observed people with weapons, so they told people on the west side, which those are the counter-protesters, they told them to leave, but they haven't. Patriot Prayer folks on the east side of Nato Parkway moved north, and counter-protesters on the other side have moved right along with the Patriot Prayer protesters. It's hard for us to go back and forth, I will say, because of this police barrier. So earlier on, we did speak with a number of counter-protesters on the other side of the street, and then we made our way over here to then speak to people affiliated with Patriot Prayer and the Proud Boys. Okay, so about a couple minutes ago, Portland police announced that cars will be resuming, the traffic will resume here near Southwest Nato Parkway. So all people have to move onto sidewalks immediately, and failure to comply means potential arrest or citation, or if it gets bad enough, riot control weapons. And it looks like police have confiscated things like homemade shields, bats that are wrapped in the American flag, other wooden devices. So nobody here is supposed to have anything that could be construed as a weapon. And also, just so you know, because of everything that is going on down here, the hundreds of counter-protesters and Patriot Prayer protesters, officers have their hands really full. There's a lot of police here just trying to make sure that it doesn't get violent. That means that officers will only respond to emergency calls for service in Portland. So non-emergency calls, it doesn't look good right now, just because police have their hands full.
Vehicular traffic will be resuming near Southwest Nato Parkway. All people on Southwest Nato Parkway must move to the sidewalk immediately. Failure to comply with this order may subject you to arrest or citation, and may subject you to the use of riot control agents or impact weapons.
And again, this Patriot Prayer rally started at noon. It is only 1 o'clock. It's supposed to end at 4, but still a long way off. And those folks in black could be Antifa. Unable to really accurately tell. like they're crossing the street. If you see any profanity on signs or said, we of course apologize. It's Facebook Live. What can you do? Hundreds of people down here for the protest.
Yeah, I love your shirt. I love your shirt.
Okay, because I know a lot of people tune in, tune out continually on Facebook Live, I'll just go ahead and update you on everything that's going on here. If you're just tuning in, this is the Gibson for Senate Freedom March, so the Patriot Prayer March led by Joey Gibson. If you're unfamiliar with him, he is running as a U.S. Senate candidate in Washington State. The Proud Boys, which is a group that's pretty well known, is also involved in this rally. They call themselves the greatest fraternal organization in the world. They're self-described as Western chauvinists, which they say it's a person who displays aggressive or excessive patriotism. They are saying things like the West is the best. They believe things like girls should be girls, men should be men. They deny any connection to racism. They just say they're anti-political correctness, anti-white guilt. The Southern Poverty Law Center categorizes the Proud Boys as a hate group associated with white nationalism, anti-Muslim, misogynistic rhetoric. They've apparently been seen alongside other extreme groups at rallies like the Unite the Right rally. That was back in August of 2017, you may remember. That was in Charlottesville. You may remember a car plowed into pedestrians there, resulting in a death and injuries. It all started when white nationalists there clashed with counter-protesters over plans to remove a Confederate statue. This Facebook event for the Patriot Prayer Rally, 365 or so people said they were coming on Facebook. More than 650 said they were interested in coming. This event's supposed to last until 4 o'clock. It started at Salmon Street Springs at noon. There was another counter protest that started at City Hall at like 10:30. It got over at 11:30, and that was when all those counter protesters started walking down to the waterfront. Since we've arrived, we have walked north along Nato Parkway from Salmon Street Springs, now all the way up to Southwest Morrison. Police apparently told people with Patriot Prayer to walk north, probably because they were trying to make it so that there was less of a chance for a clash at Salmon Street Springs, because, you know, one side was on one side of Nato Parkway, the other counter. He says he doesn't want people to die, but he does respect the Second Amendment and also wants to be able to defend themselves if things get ugly. There are armed guards somewhere around here for Patriot Prayer. A number of the people who are here on the Patriot Prayer side were bussed in from Vancouver. Regarding the guns, Portland police have said it's against the law to carry a loaded gun in the city unless someone has an Oregon concealed handgun license, a valid one. And I've also heard that a number of people who RSVP'd to Patriot Prayer, there are a number of people from around the country who have arrived to support Patriot Prayer. Police have said Oregon has no concealed handgun reciprocity with any state, though, so it is still a crime to carry a concealed handgun unless that person has a valid Oregon concealed weapons license. So a concealed weapons license from another state doesn't fly. I don't know if you can hear that, but they're yelling Nazi scum, go away. Other signs on our side saying Antifa equals evil. Keep America great. And when I say our side, I mean the side that we're on, which is the east end or the east side of Nato Parkway. And the reason we're not crossing the street is because it's almost impossible, because Portland police have created a barrier trying to make sure no one gets across, limiting the chances of a clash. Because we've seen before at a number of different rallies, counter-protesters along with people with Patriot Prayer, it can get really heated really fast.
Welcome to the United States of America, you should come over here.
You just are hearing now "Get a Job" being chanted from the Patriot Prayer side. In terms of the counter-protesters on the west side of Nato Parkway, there are a number of groups over there. There was one group, Pop Mob, short for Popular Mobilization. They were the ones that hosted the initial rally at City Hall. So there are probably some of those folks over there. Antifa, so we're talking Rose City Antifa, Eugene Antifa, I believe, are over there, as well as Pacific Northwest Anti-Fascist Workers Collective. All these groups, in addition to education, healthcare, arts groups, saying that they're aligned and pushing back against hate-fueled rhetoric, is what they say. And just so you know, if you see some counter-protesters in all black, faces covered, sometimes those could be Antifa folks. It's a leftist group focused primarily on fighting the far right, they say. It's made up of a lot of different people, from anarchists to socialists to communists to just kind of everyday people too. And a lot of Antifa groups are a bit autonomous. Sometimes it's hard to point out any connectivity between those Antifa groups. Some promote violence, others don't. But yes, a lot of police presence out here. Increased police presence. We've heard bomb-sniffing dogs were out here. There were security checkpoints. Police have already confiscated a number of items that could be weapons, from bats to even flagpoles to homemade shields. You may remember the last Patriot Prayer March back in late June. For a while, that one was okay. Didn't seem like many scuffles were breaking out or many fistfights. That is, until people started marching and actually started coming in contact with the other side, counter-protesters and Patriot Prayer protesters. So this is clear why Portland police are just trying to keep the groups separated. Obviously, if you're headed downtown, anywhere near the waterfront, know that this is going on. Know that there are hundreds of people out here. That means traffic delays.
Racist murder won't go down. Portland is our union town. Racist murder won't go down. Portland is our racist murder won't go down. Portland is our union town. Racist murder won't go down. Portland is our union town. Racist murder won't go down. Portland is our union town.
Hundreds of people down here.
No, they're pretty for it. Are they? Yeah. That was more of a last generation. My grandparents were.
Oh, so I wanted to respond to some of these Facebook comments. I'm just getting a chance to look at them now. Ernie Shaw, I see that you have posted talking about how it's a novel idea. Why don't you go talk to Patriot Prayer attendees? I don't know exactly when you tuned in, but that's all we've been doing for the last probably 20 minutes.
Women used to be hot. What happened?
And we've interviewed a number of Patriot Prayer attendees.
Cook.
So, no, we do not only represent one agenda.
Get cooked, get clean, get fucked. Gotta go home.
Before we spoke to attendees here on this side of Nato Parkway, we also spoke to counter-protesters on the other side of Nato Parkway. We were able to make our way across, but right now it's pretty hard to do that since there's a lot of police blocking the way. So I hope that answered your question, Ernie.
Are you kidding me? Is that a weapon of death?
That sign over there, Satan loves all his children. Of course he eats them. There's sorrow in their heart.
And I don't know how to say your name. Sai, I think it is. How many people are in attendance? It's unclear because I don't have a bird's eye view, but I do know that hundreds of people are down here. Hundreds of people RSVP'd to the Patriot Prayer rally, and hundreds of people RSVP'd to the counter-protests.
Thank you. It's okay.
Hi, Pat Donovan. If you have a question, please let me know. I'm trying to monitor these comments as best as I can. You say that the reporter is lying, but I'd love to answer any questions you have to the best of my ability. James Lambert, why are we not talking to and hearing the Antifa chants? We have spoken to people on the other side of the street, the counter-protesters, a number of them. We can't get over there right now because police are blocking the way and they're not letting people across. But we have also spoken to a number of Patriot Prayer demonstrators out here today as well. Oh, thanks for giving me that pronouncer. Say it.
You know what you guys have to be proud about? Trump is your president. Trump is your president. After the tears and you wake up in the morning, he's still your president.
Nami, I'm not sure how you say your name, not sure which side has more people. I wish I were much taller so I could see over everyone.
I appreciate your hate speech. Keep it up.
And I haven't seen anyone get arrested as of yet. Police have done a pretty good job in terms of separating both groups, not letting anyone run across so far that at least I have seen. And for people wondering about how many people are in attendance here, like I said, it's hard to know, especially when you can't get a bird's eye view of this. But the Patriot Prayer rally had almost 400 people RSVP on Facebook saying they were coming. 660 at last check that said they were interested, and I checked a little bit earlier this morning. As for the counter-protesters, for their Facebook event, 200 people said they were going, 469 said they were interested, and that's in addition to another counter-protest event that said they had 266 people coming and 1,000 people interested. So really hard to tell, but very clear that hundreds of people are down here for sure. and a really, really large police presence, making sure that the two sides stay apart, because we've seen at other rallies between Patriot Prayer and the counter-protesters, when they have come together, it has become violent before. So police really trying to keep everyone separate and apart. Okay, so it looks like some people are a little bit confused about what everything is about, and that's completely understandable because people tune in all the time, come and go from Facebook Live. So for everyone who's just tuning in right now, we are on the east side of Nato Parkway in downtown Portland at the intersection of Nato and Southwest Morrison. On the east side, basically the waterfront side, is a huge group of Patriot Prayer protesters. If you're unfamiliar with Patriot Prayer, it's a ultra-conservative, pretty conservative group run by Joey Gibson. He's apparently also running as a U.S. Senate candidate in Washington State. Another group, the Proud Boys, you may have heard of them. They're involved in this rally as well. They call themselves the, quote, greatest fraternal organization in the world. And they're self-described, quote, Western chauvinists, so displaying aggressive or excessive patriotism. They like to say things like the West is best, that they really long for the days where women are women and men are men. They deny any connection to racism. They say they're anti-political correctness, anti-white guilt, but the Southern Poverty Law Center says the Proud Boys is a hate group, and they're associated with white nationalism, anti-Muslim, misogynistic rhetoric, that kind of thing. Been seen alongside extreme groups at rallies, like the Unite the Right rally in August of 2017. That was the one in Charlottesville, you may remember, where a car went right into pedestrians, and that resulted in a death, a number of injuries. And that all started when white nationalists clashed with counter-protesters over plans to take away a Confederate statue. This event started at noon at Salmon Street Springs. It's supposed to go until 4 p.m. today. And it's only 1 o'clock, 1:15, so still a long way to go. A lot could happen in this time frame. But police, like I've said before, doing a pretty good job at keeping everyone separate at this point. When we first got here, we came to Salmon Street Springs, but actually before we came to the waterfront, there were counter-protesters at City Hall in downtown Portland. That rally started at 10:30, lasted for about an hour, and that's when hundreds of counter-protesters started marching to the waterfront. Since arriving at the waterfront, we've walked north along Nato, north along the waterfront. That's because apparently Portland police told organizers of the Patriot Prayer rally to walk north, presumably to try to get away from some of the counter-protesters on the other side of the street to limit contact. And as Patriot Prayer protesters walked north, so did counter-protesters. So that's why you see them across the street there. And as far as the reasoning as to why the protests are even out here, the Patriot Prayer protest, I mean, in part, it's because Joey Gibson is running for that Senate seat. So I think he's probably promoting that. But he's also said he is promoting the Second Amendment and free speech. In regards to the Second Amendment, a lot of people have been talking about concerns regarding guns being brought to the rally here. That's because in a Facebook live stream, Gibson had said that everyone should be carrying around guns at all times, especially people in our quote-unquote situation, is what he said. He's also said that guns have been carried at all Patriot Prayer rallies, that he doesn't want people to die, but that he's a proponent of the Second Amendment and wants to defend themselves in case things go awry here. There are armed guards with Patriot Prayer. I believe 5 buses filled with people were bussed in earlier. Portland police, via Twitter, they've said it's against the law to carry a loaded handgun in the city unless somebody has an Oregon concealed handgun license. And it looks like something's going on over there. Unsure what exactly is going on. Just a lot of pushing and shoving. I saw a bottle getting thrown. Oh, I think that's Joey Gibson getting walked across the street. So somehow he ended up over there. And he just high-fived one of his friends. we've also heard a lot of people here supporting Patriot Prayer have come from across the country. Portland police have said that Oregon has no concealed handgun reciprocity with any state. That means it is a crime to carry a concealed handgun here in Oregon unless that person has a valid concealed weapons license for the state of Oregon. And in terms of the counter-protesters, they're here mobilizing. There are a bunch of groups here from labor rights organizations, arts, education, healthcare, even Antifa, which we've seen at other rallies before. They say they're aligned in pushing back against hate-fueled rhetoric, and the insurgent right is what they say.
You don't know how fun this is watching you guys.
Eugene Antifa, Pacific Northwest Anti-Fascist Workers Collective, and Rose City Antifa are here along with Pop Mob, which is short for Popular Mobilization.
Oh, shit, no.
Yeah! Yeah!
There's no way that side of the street knows how to fly one of those. USA! 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 USA!
And apologies if our broadcast keeps interrupting on Facebook Live here. It's probably because there are a lot of cell signals going on.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Get on the sidewalk. Get out of the street and get on the sidewalk.
They don't follow directions very well.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Get on the sidewalk. Get out of the street and get on the sidewalk. This is the Portland Police Bureau. Get on the sidewalk.
Get on the sidewalk.
Out of the street and get on the sidewalk.
They don't understand English. You might have to act like a kid.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Get on the sidewalk. Get out of the street and get on the sidewalk.
Walk that pole, baby, walk that pole. We've got more black people on this side than you do. Hey, why don't you take your mask off? Where are all your black people? Is that fear? They're all over here.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Get on the sidewalk. Get out of the street and get on the sidewalk.
Other side attacked us as usual. They jumped Joey, so we're gonna go on the march soon. Okay.
Leave it on, leave it on. You are the Nazis, go home. You are the Nazis, go home. You are the Nazis, go home. You are the Nazis, go home.
Okay, looking at the comments again, I'm just getting a chance to. Is this a permitted rally? No, I don't believe it is.
I don't know if you want to fly your mind.
Oh,
So many white trust fund me. So those things.
as you can see, what we've been reporting all day, increased police presence here to make sure the two groups stay separated.
Get on the sidewalk. Get out of the street and get on the sidewalk.
Justin, I have not seen anyone praying.
guys after the rally. So just show up here on the corner of Sam and George Soros will have your paycheck for you.
Jill, the Patriot Prayer rally is supposed to be over at 4. I don't know, though, what time it'll actually be over. I mean, this started at noon, and I mean, it's a long way to go until 4. Evan, nay, has anyone been caught carrying weapons? Yes. Police have confiscated a number of weapons and things that could be used as weapons, from bats that were wrapped up in American flags to flagpoles to knives to homemade shields. So there have been a number of things confiscated permanently that could have been used as weapons or were weapons.
For the protesters after the rally on the corner of Salmon Street.
Chris, somebody just asked if I had seen anyone praying, but I can't say I have or not. So I just did my best to answer a question.
No? Right, where's the lip sync challenge, boys? And girls. It's off you. We're shaking up, baby, now. America first, and Trump is your president. We respect you. You guys are all the Nazis. You guys hit women, you throw stones.
Chris, I only said I wasn't sure whether
your
anyone was
your
praying
father,
or not.
You're disgrace to your high school, you're disgrace to your country, and you're disgrace to the state of Oregon.
Marie,
You
who were
all
the weapons?
are the Nazis.
Who were
and
the
you're all
weapons
going to
on?
hell.
Unsure who the weapons were on, but if you check out Portland Police's Twitter page, they did post a number of pictures of the weapons that they confiscated. Some of those weapons had like stars on them. One bat had an American flag wrapped around it.
I know somebody that's been there. Believe me, you don't want to be there. It stinks really bad. Kind of like some of you snowflakes.
Okay, well, if you're headed downtown at all, just know that this is what's going on. There are hundreds of people here on the counter-protest side, on the Patriot Prayer side. And it looks like actually Patriot Prayer people, the people involved in this rally, are headed toward the waterfront, closer to the waterfront, away from Nato Parkway right now. So we'll just go ahead and follow a man with a sign saying violence solves nothing. Okay, so we are walking closer to the waterfront, away from some of the counter-protesters that are on the west side of Nato Parkway. Again, it's been somewhat tough getting from one side of the street to the other just because Portland police are in full force lining Nato Parkway, making sure no one gets across. Although I did see Joey Gibson. Somehow he ended up on the counter-protester side and had to come running back across. There was a little bit of a scuffle. And you know, so far, other than a couple little scuffles, I haven't seen anything get too violent, which is good news. Although this rally goes until 4 p.m., so still a lot that could happen between now and 4. And in the past, we have seen violence break out at these rallies where counter-protesters and Patriot Prayer protesters clash.
Of them are lost. I think they just need to have some love in their heart or something.
So you said you think they're crazy. What exactly do you disagree with in regards to their message, and what is it that you believe?
I believe in socialism, and I believe that that the Trump protesters, the Patriot people, I think that they have some problems with how things are running. I just don't agree with it. I don't agree with anything they say. That's all. Oh shit. Yeah, but I don't
Okay.
know. What about you? What do you think?
Well, I just am here to report what's going on, to be honest with you. I just am telling people what's going on downtown on the waterfront. I've spoken to a number of Patriot Prayer protesters and a number of protesters on the other side of things, just trying to kind of, as much as I can, get a pretty even, response.
That's good to get both sides, right?
Yeah, that is what we're trying to do.
Me too. I'm just doing it on the grassroots level.
Hey, thank you so much for your time. We're on Facebook Live. Hey Neil, so just saw your comment there. He just kind of came up to me and started talking, and so we're kind of rolling, and we've been doing that pretty much all day. If somebody wanted to talk to us, that's fine. Okay, so if our live feed cuts out, everyone, it's because we're changing batteries. We've been live for 2-3 hours now.
I think that's on. Sorry. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Is it all good now? Okay, so we are now walking south again. So for a while, we were at Salmon Street Springs, walking north. Now we're walking south, following the Patriot Prayer group. And then when I look over, I can see the counter-protesters on the other side of Nato Parkway doing the same thing. So it's just a lot of walking up and down Nato right now. Fortunately, I've not seen very many clashes. It hasn't been very violent, save for a couple little scuffles. But this event is supposed to go on until 4 o'clock this afternoon, so still a lot of time for things to happen. I'm trying to update everyone. If I see a comment, I try to respond as best as I can. But I'm also trying to watch my way as I walk and I'm trying to make sure I'm keeping tabs on what's going on.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Get out of the street and get off the sidewalk.
Portland police just trying to make sure no one crosses the way.
Sure, why not?
Okay, and I didn't even catch your name.
Kelly.
Kelly, and you're from St. John's?
Yes.
Okay, and so why did you decide, hey, I'm coming down here today?
American right, we need to stand up for true American values, which are freedom for all colors, creeds, and I'm not seeing that in America anymore. It's done a 180. All I'm seeing is hatred being sold at the highest job of the U.S. and Americans need to say it's not okay. Hatred is not okay in this country.
Okay, and what are your thoughts on Patriot Prayer? I know the Proud Boys are apparently here too. That's another group that's associated with the rally.
Well, they have the right to meet, but we also have the right to protest against their meeting.
And you're on this side of the street, whereas a lot of the counter-protesters are on that side.
I have the right to be over on this side and express my disapproval of their beliefs.
Have you been able to have any meaningful dialogue with anybody over on the Patriot Prayer side?
No, I mean, everybody has their rhetoric pretty much practiced, and there's just no real discussion with that kind of thing. There's no open dialogue.
Are you concerned at all about safety and the potential for violence? We've seen rallies like this go awry before.
Yeah, that is true, but the moment you let violence scare you away from doing what's right, this isn't America anymore.
And anything else you want to add? What do you hope to bring to the dialogue? You're obviously on this side. You say you have a right to be on this side. What is your hope then to communicate to people who are supporters of Patriot Prayer?
I want to let people know to not be afraid of guns, of flak jackets, or whatever they are, of the attitude. Don't be afraid of that. Express your disapproval if you believe that. Follow the truth. The truth is what people need to listen to and what they need to express. When you see something that is not right, it is your duty as an American to fight against that. You hear that song, Freedom? That's what it's about. And there's this grip on the country that is not right, and we need to free ourselves of that grip.
Okay, anything else you want to add?
Right on St. John's.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Again, this is KGW, a local broadcast in Portland, and we're on location in Portland, Oregon right now.
You got a drone.
With the Real TV Network and with Fox News. Thank you so much.
Yep.
We'll be right back.
Oh, okay. So it looks like we're headed toward Hawthorne Bridge now. We're going to keep walking. We just took a moment there to interview one of the counter-protesters who actually was walking on the Patriot Prayer side. speakers are along the waterfront here, still separated by NATO.
Well, the demonstrators are on the outside of the river.
Somebody just asked us to interview Antifa. In my experience, it's been very difficult to interview many people who designate themselves or identify themselves with the Antifa group. Today, we've had a number of people who have had their faces covered, saying that they want the camera out of their face. So, we respect that. Okay, we're catching up with some of the Patriot Prayer demonstrators here. Christopher, I just saw your message. Look how far this reporter goes to interview leftists.
Abusing their power. So we come up against them right now. They are manifesting evil into the hearts and confusing their people underneath them, using them as pawns. And we're not going to take this anymore. So we come up against it right now, using and invoking the name of Jesus Christ, the King. The one that has given us power and authority to trample over all serpents and scorpions, and nothing by any means shall ever hurt us. In the name of Jesus Christ. God says that if we put our trust in Him, we will mount up on wings of eagles. And those of you that want to run, you will not grow weary. And those of you that want to march, you will not grow faint. Let's go. I pray right now in Jesus' name over every one of you, protection. I plead the blood of Christ over you. And I pray angels to set up a shield of protection around each one of you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
All right, get ready. Moving? Get ready. All right, you guys, get ready. We're going to move. Okay, you got this?
All right here to our left. All right.
Look, whoever should believe in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
Everybody up there, bring it in. Bring it in. Keep it tight. We're going to take a straight right there. Let's go. All right, boys, get in the front of the march. Let's go.
Where are we going?
Keep this tight. Keep this tight.
Sorry, dude.
You, sir,
Day so far, the police are doing the job. It's like 10 minutes. So is this just gospel or pressure is put on them by multiple sources, not just us. I got you. I know you feel pretty well. I was like, what to say? I love the Constitution. I love this country. I'm a Trump supporter. I'm here with this. I didn't. I called myself just spoke at the city last minute online. We called Endorsers and stuff. Some of it not so nice. Some of it I called myself. It's funny. But I really loved the base screen rally. That one gave me wild. So set up going with that. I don't know. Tight. Right. Right.
And they don't bat a fucking eyelash. Jeff Sessions is this little bitch.
I'd make a
What
bitch
does
out
he
of one of
do?
them.
Turn around and his racist people are out there. Stay close and tight. Go down. Run, Tommy, run. I have been fighting this battle for decades since I outspeak your family. Run, Tommy, run. Talking to people. Run, Tommy, run. Keep the line. Keep the line. Make a hole. Come down here. Make you believe in the value of
Talk to you real quick just about your...
No.
Okay. Yeah.
They set up a barricade that way. These people specifically marched south to instigate.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you serious?
So one of the, I believe, counter-protesters on this side of the street, he was saying that, and he's right, there was a barricaded area north of where we're standing along Waterfront Park. Some of the Patriot Prayer protesters have moved south, and then so have the counter-protesters. Across the street, you can see them gathering. This has been what we've seen pretty much all morning, is a lot of following each other around. Patriot Prayer people going north, counter-protesters doing the same, everyone following each other. So it is a little bit disconcerting, especially because, police have been trying so hard to keep these two groups apart. And we've seen in the past that when the two groups collide, it's a pretty bad situation. And hundreds of people are down here. If you are just tuning in, the Patriot Prayer Rally on Facebook, about 365, almost 400 people said they were going, 650 or so saying they're interested. In terms of the counter-protesters, 200 said they were going, 500 about interested. Another counter-protest had a couple hundred people going and 1,000 people interested. So really a lot of people here in downtown Portland along the waterfront.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. To those in their southwest.
Okay, now you see Portland police getting here as fast as they can to keep a barricade, basically, or keep some division between these two groups.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Remain on the sidewalk.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. All subjects on Southwest Columbia Street need to move to the west immediately. Move to the west now. This is the Portland Police Bureau. All subjects on Southwest Columbia Street need to move to the west immediately. Move to the west now.
They're busting out some sticks.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. All subjects on Southwest Columbia Street need to move to the west immediately. Move to the west now.
Southwest Columbia and Southwest Nato need to move to the west immediately. Failure to comply with this order may subject you to arrest or citation and may subject you to the use of private ranges or impact weapons. This is the Portland Police Bureau. All those standing at Southwest Columbia and Southwest Nato need to move to the west immediately. Failure to comply with this order may subject you to arrest or citation and may subject you to the use of practical agents or impact weapons. This is the Portland Police Bureau. All those standing at Southwest Columbia and Southwest Nato need to move to the west immediately. Failure to comply with this order may subject you to arrest or citation and may subject you to the use of practical agents or impact weapons.
So you just heard Portland police telling counter-protesters on the west side of NATO to keep on moving west, trying to dissipate the crowd over there so as to maybe lessen the potential for conflict, because that is a real possibility, that's for sure. Portland police have already confiscated a number of weapons or items that could be used as weapons. If you go to the Portland police's Twitter handle, you'll see pictures of them. I saw a bat, one that was wrapped in an American flag, homemade shields, knives, that kind of thing. Oh, okay. So police trying. Scuffles going on right now.
Somebody's cooking.
Officers have observed protesters throwing projectiles, including rocks and bottles. The projectiles were thrown at officers near South.
Okay, guys. So what happened is police started firing what appears to be flashbangs into the counter-protesters on the west side of Nato Parkway. They had told protesters on that side, the counter-protesters, to leave, to start moving west. When they didn't, that's when they started firing off the flashbangs. And then behind us, on the Patriot Prayer side, a bit of a scuffle broke out. That's when you saw the camera turn around and probably cut out because we slipped on something real fast and then it hit the camera. Right now, I can tell you there's something in the air that's tickling our throats.
Failure to comply with this order may subject you to arrest or citation and may subject you to the use of riot control agents.
I don't know if you saw the video and didn't hear, but then there was also somebody who was getting arrested on the ground with Portland police on the Patriot Prayer side. Someone said that that was a counter-protester. I'm unable to confirm that. We just can confirm that somebody was arrested. Yeah, sorry it cut out there, guys, for a moment. Okay, so things are at least clearing out over here right now after police fired off some flashbangs to dispel the crowd that was on the west side of Nato Parkway. Of course, those were the people who were counter-protesters. On this side of Nato Parkway, we've still got some Patriot Prayer folks.
Officers have observed protesters throwing projectiles, including rocks and bottles. The projectiles were thrown at officers near southwest Nato Parkway and southwest Columbia. All people in this area must immediately disperse. Failure to comply with this order may subject you to arrest or citation and may subject you to the use of riot control agents or impact weapons.
Okay, still more flashbangs going off. I can tell you that some other substance was in the air too, because it was a little bit hard to breathe for a little bit. Oh, it was tear gas?
Oh, I coughed on it.
Oh, me too. So what did you see? Because, I mean,
It was absolutely horrible over here. A whole bunch of stuff started exploding in the middle of the street, and then it was really hard to breathe. Yep.
Are you here in support of Patriot Prayer, or are you a counter-protester?
I'm here for America, you know, just for unity. And this is not unity. This is poisoning us with tear gas. I mean, these are our streets. You know what I mean? Come talk to us. Okay. Let's find resolve. Let's not fight. Let's find resolve.
So you're up for dialogue, basically. That's why you came?
Yep.
Have you been able to have...
a whole bunch all day long, and for actually years now, I've been able to talk with everybody out here, and there's nothing but the good comes from it. And these cops come out here and start throwing their tear gas and shooting their rubber bullets. It's scary.
Thank you so much for your time. And guys, I see somebody just said, KGW, interview the other side, please. I don't know if you can see this, but I mean, Portland's police are kind of blocking our way right now. I'm going to ask and see whether we can cross the street. Maybe. Oh gosh, and then there are more Patriot Prayer people south of where we're standing right here. Hopefully people aren't gonna go around the block and meet up, the two groups that is. So we're gonna see if we can cross. Hi, I was wondering where we can cross the street. It looks like Patriot Prayer is going all the way around. I was wondering since over here. Oh.
Yeah, you can't cross this way.
Okay.
You know, you might want to follow the crowd.
Okay, then maybe that's what we'll do. Okay, thank you. Or we could even go that way. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and follow Patriot Prayer. They're heading south on Nato. already there's been a bit of a clash, but that's because police had asked counter-protesters on the west side of Nato Parkway to leave, to disperse, to keep moving west, but they didn't. So then they started firing flashbangs. It appears tear gas, or at least
Go ahead.
Orly!
Enjoyable helmets, flag jackets, things to protect us. That's the way it is here in Portland. Further. They're trying to follow us, but they're still in masks. The police department getting arrested. You still hear the explosions going on in the inner part of the city. In fact, I can see some of them running right now.
Stay on the sidewalk! Stay on the sidewalk!
Hey! Hey! We need to just...
Really organized. I don't know where Tyler disappeared to. Right here. You look different with that on. Were they burning flags and shit? I wasn't a flag running. I was a... It's a rival. Come on, girl. Come on, baby girl. Come on over here, baby. Keller Auditorium? I see you right there. Come across the street. Come over.
Muslims pray, Buddhists just pray. So it's like everybody's thing. So you're all religious. Well, most of the human history.
All of our communist friends.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention now to the microphone behind your plate. And please welcome...
About face! To the rear, march! To the rear, march!
Oh, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I guess that's the end of our round. Lead across. Well, all it lasted? We went about a quarter mile and you ordered.
Yeah, I want to get up to the front where everybody's at. Excuse me, real quick, man.
That's a good stop.
Look at the little man that over there talking trash. Oh, we're going back to the park.
A good rally. I think it's time to that's the thing, and how we do it. Well, it's supposed to last till 4, so we got 2 more hours. We'll look and see what happens. If we were on the same side, that would be better. Right, one makes it better. Because of everyone here. I would say one of Ferrari's, one of theirs, they can still do well. Yeah, but they don't fly like that. They don't want sharps, they do. That's good. It's good, man. It's still not yeah, sharps don't really cover that. We're going to try and probably be like 2 more tires on. Oh, you're talking about that. That's where we did it last year. For that reason. Who's got the fucking picture of Lewis? Right in where the theater is? So they had a big thing. Yeah. Probably don't want to park in there. You were doing it. very patriotic.
Thank you, Obama.
Cowboys targeted and beat Algeria. It's good when they happen.
What's that all way?
And right now we're at Southwest 3rd and Market Street, where police have set up another barricade, or at least another barrier between the two groups to make sure, to try to keep them separate. Because in the past we've seen these rallies go awry pretty quickly, especially when two groups converge and are allowed to clash. So if you're headed downtown, driving downtown at all, it's not just the waterfront anymore. Just be aware that this protest is moving, so there's going to be traffic, there's going to be blockades up. John, why did the rally move? It's a little bit unclear, actually, why necessarily the rally moved. It seemed from my vantage point, where I was on the east side of Nato Parkway, that Patriot Prayer started walking to the south. So then we started following them, and then we saw counter-protesters walking south as well. There was a blockade, barriers up for a section of Waterfront Park, but when the Patriot Prayer group started walking south, it kind of walked out of the barricaded area. And Portland police scrambled to try to continue to maintain some semblance of a barrier. But we've been here since, well, we've been broadcasting on Facebook Live since about 10:30 or so. We've spoken to a number of counter-protesters and a number of Patriot Prayer demonstrators, ralliers. At times, it's been very hard to get both sides at one time because police are standing in the way. They don't want people crossing the line they've made. It's unclear, Austin, if there seem to be more Patriot Prayer people or counter-protesters. Hundreds of people RSVP'd to the Facebook events online, so I don't have a bird's eye view, so it's hard for me to estimate. I do know that there are hundreds for sure. And I think somebody had asked about the groups involved. The Patriot Prayer group, you may be familiar with, pretty conservative, led by Joey Gibson, who's also running as a U.S. Senate candidate in Washington State. Another group that's affiliated with Gibson's group, Patriot Prayer, would be the Proud Boys. They're involved in this rally as well. They call themselves the greatest fraternal organization in the world. They're self-described Western chauvinists, which means, you know, they're pretty aggressive about their patriotism. They like to say things like the West is the best, and they want days when girls were girls and men were men. They deny any connection to racism. Instead, they say they're anti-political correctness and anti-white guilt. Meantime, the Southern Poverty Law Center labels the Proud Boys group as a hate group associated with white nationalism, misogynistic rhetoric, that kind of thing. The Southern Poverty Law Center says the Proud Boys have been spotted alongside other extremist groups, like during the Unite the Right rally. I don't know if you guys remember August of 2017 in Charlottesville, where a car just plowed into a group of pedestrians, and that resulted in a death, multiple injuries, and that was all when white nationalists clashed with counter-protesters over plans to take away a Confederate statue there. Meantime, on the other side, the counter-protester side, at 10:30 this morning, a group called Pop Mob, short for Popular Mobilization, held a rally at City Hall. Along with them were other groups, including labor rights groups, education, healthcare, arts, a bunch of other people in the Portland area. They say they're aligned, pushing back against hate-fueled rhetoric. And another counter-protest group involved Eugene Antifa, coming up from Eugene, obviously, the Pacific Northwest Anti-Fascist Workers Collective, and Rose City Antifa as well. And if you're unfamiliar with anti-fascists or Antifa, they have before in the past been the primary group opposing Patriot Prayer. They're known to be against racism and tracking local neo-Nazis, that kind of thing. Often they're made up of just kind of residents in the area, anarchists, socialists, communists, a bunch of different people. And these Antifa groups, all these separate ones, aren't always connected to each other. They're somewhat autonomous. Some encourage violence, others don't really. Again, we're standing here at the corner of Southwest 3rd and Market, where police have created a line, a barrier between both sides, trying to keep them separate. Because in a number of rallies we've covered before, it really gets ugly pretty quickly when both sides clash. Police have been doing a pretty good job at keeping both sides separate, though. Already they've confiscated a number of weapons and items that could be weapons. They've posted pictures on their Twitter, so you can check those out if you're interested in seeing what police have confiscated. Things like homemade shields, knives, bats with the American flag on them, flag poles, just really anything that could be used as a weapon. One concern that I know a lot of counter-protesters had earlier when we spoke to them was that guns would be present here at this rally. Joey Gibson in a Facebook live stream earlier this week had said, quote, everyone should be carrying around guns at all times, especially people in our situation. He said he didn't want people to die or anything, but respects the Second Amendment and also wants to be able to defend themselves. I know a number of people with Patriot Prayer are from outside of Oregon, from across the country. Police have said that in Oregon, the state has no concealed handgun reciprocity with any state, so that means it's a crime to carry a concealed handgun unless you have a valid Oregon concealed weapons license. And in general, it's against the law to carry a loaded gun in the city of Portland unless you have a concealed permit. It looks like Patriot Prayer ralliers are on the move again. This time they're headed back east. And counter-protesters on our side of the street are following suit, heading east again as well.
Fascists, go home! I'd like to point out to the media, they issued a dispersal order at Nato in Columbia, specifically saying disperse the intersection of Nato and Columbia.
You mean going west, right?
The crowd then moved a full block west, and they continued to fire impact munitions at the crowd, openly fire rubber bullets, rapid firing rubber bullets at the crowd, when at that time everyone had complied with that order. Because that order was I was on the sidewalk observing, everyone had left the intersection that they were telling the crowd to disperse. A block plus away from that intersection, the police were still firing flashbang grenades, rapid firing rubber bullets at the crowd, even though the crowd had complied with the order that they gave.
And you're talking about when police had said move west, right?
Yes.
Okay, because we were unable to see what happened after
They
that.
later, a few blocks later at 3rd, changed their order to say you have to disperse the area within 1 block of 3rd and Columbia. But until then, the only order had been to leave the intersection of Nato and Columbia and go to the west. They continued using heavy-handed tactics with the crowd for all the way up to 3rd Avenue before there was any other lawful order requiring anyone to do anything other than leave the intersection that they were already 3 blocks away from.
Did you show up here as a counter-protester or just an observer?
Just purely an observer.
And I'm sorry, what's your name?
My name's Alex.
Alex, are you a Portlander?
Yes, I'm born in Portland, raised in Portland. I've seen all these protests and have seen the police get more and more heavy-handed with protesters. With each one, never more so than when we've got this group of people who are essentially here to celebrate a murderer, to celebrate a man who murdered 2 Portlanders on the MAX train with clear racist animus. It's a group associated with them, and we've got the police here to protect them apparently now. It's disgusting. And, you know, we've got all of these other Portlanders who have come to at least show that Portland is not just a bunch of racists. It's not just these people who came here from out of state to try to start trouble. It's people who believe in diversity, who believe in real American values. And the police come here and they clear this group out with force, with rubber bullets, with flashbang grenades. Meanwhile, the neo-Nazi group over here has got a police line protecting them. It's really disappointing to me as a Portlander.
Nice to have a police force that protects the citizens.
Thank you, guys.
From the invaders.
Okay.
Because they were in the street, and that's not legal. Like, it's not because they're against one or the other side. I don't agree with the other side anyway, but there's 2 sides to all these stories, and so I think it's ridiculous that it's come down to this, and that the communication level has dropped so low that people are willing to fight each other in the streets for this. This is usually what the purpose of government is, but when the government fails the people, then we're resorted to this. I don't agree with it, but it's an unfortunate byproduct.
So you just heard what the other man we just talked to said, and you said, well, hey, they were in the street and police had to disperse them. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm not agreeing with the other side because they seem to have ties to hate groups and Nazism and things like that. I talked to a bunch of the people over there, and we agreed on a lot of aspects, And I think that if people could just come together and talk to each other, then we wouldn't have to deal with this crap.
Dialogue.
The Kings
won't let us touch it.
Okay, so now police moving eastbound on Market, kind of following the crowd here. So you've got, obviously a bunch of differing opinions out here. One man who was on the west side of Nato when police told everyone to disperse says he believes that police were heavy-handed, that sure, they had to use flashbangs to get everyone to leave, continue westbound, but he felt that once people had started complying, that police shouldn't have continued firing off flashbangs and using other tactics. Then we heard from another man who said, police don't have many options, especially when protesters are in the street. So. Okay, coming up on Market and 2nd now. To my right, so south of us, south of Market, you've got Patriot Prayer, and then on this side of the street, you've got counter-protesters.
I don't know.
So Nomi or somebody asked about max interruptions. I just checked TriMet's Twitter page and I don't see anything so far. So it's unclear, but I assume that it's possible, especially if people or protesters are blocking any max tracks. I'll keep tabs on it, or try to anyway. Keep you updated on that. And just, about 30 minutes ago, probably about the time when police told people on the west side of Nato to disperse, they had tweeted out that officers had seen protesters throwing things like rocks and bottles, projectiles thrown at officers near southwest Nato and Columbia, which is where those counter-protesters were standing and where police eventually ended up firing flashbangs in to disperse the crowd. Oh. And I will say I saw some comments talking about how those counter-protesters were all Antifa. And I can tell you I don't think all of them are. Yes, sure, a large number maybe, or a number of people are. But I spoke with a number of counter-protesters who were just average Portland area residents, people who live in this area as well. As you can see, we're back along Nato, which is where we began. Now Patriot Prayer, walking north again along Nato. It just feels like a cat and mouse game. It's like one group walks down, the other group follows, one group walks up, the other group follows. That's been kind of the feel down here. That's been what's been going on all morning. And in terms of an agenda, I know some people have posted on Facebook about that stuff.
Shame on you! Protecting Nazis!
We have definitely spoken to a number of people on both sides. And often it's difficult to get from one side to the other because police put themselves between the two groups to try to keep everybody separated and keep the peace a little bit.
They're all over the street.
And of course, apologies for the profanity. This is Facebook Live, so everything you hear is everything that's going on right now.